Good evening and welcome to the Greenfield Public Schools School Committee meeting for Wednesday, October 8th at 2025. This meeting is being recorded by GCTV. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Not seeing any. Secretary Deneve, will you call the roll?
Chair Johnson-Masad.
Here.
Secretary Deneve is here. Vice Chair Sexton.
Here online.
Member Martini.
Here.
Member Childs.
Here.
Member Goodwin.
Here.
Mayor DeSorger.
Here.
We are all here and have a quorum.
All right, so we're calling the meeting to order at 6:46. We'll move to public comment. Has anyone signed up in person to give public comment?
Yes, first we'll have Crystal Cleaver, followed by Doug Salvin. Can you remind me how long I have?
And you're going to want to grab that microphone, and it takes a couple pushes to turn it on, but it will turn it to green when it's ready.
How's that?
Great.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I know some of you have never met before, and I've given public comment at school committee before, so I have opinions about the public school system. I'm a parent of a second grader at Federal Street School. I'm also a social worker in the community and have lived and worked in Greenfield for about 15 years now. So, sorry, that is my alarm clock going off reminding me to do something because I need alarms to remind me to get things done, because that's the life of a parent who has a kid with special needs. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm not sure how many folks on the committee are aware of something called the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I see heads nodding. I like that. And some not, and that's okay too. So we say CPAC for short, Special Education Parent Advisory Council. It is a law in the state of Massachusetts that every school district have a CPAC. There's also, just as a side note, also something called an LPAC, English Language Parent Advisory Council. And in our school district in Greenfield, around the time of the pandemic, lots of things stopped happening as they regularly would. And so the last CPAC meeting that was held was in 2020, when my child went into kindergarten at Federal Street School in 2023. So I knew that CPACs were supposed to be happening, and I knew what their purpose was. And so I reached out to the the director of pupil services, and Dave Messing had just taken on the role and was very excited and had worked with CPACs in other districts that he had worked in and was really knowledgeable about them, so it was sort of good timing that way. And the first year it was me and a friend of mine who also has a kiddo at Federal Street, and we met with Dave a couple of times and chatted about what we wanted to get done, and not much got done because that's how things grow. And then last year, a few more members joined, and I'm going to read to you guys a little bit if I have the time. We have a flyer. I thought I had copies of it, but I gave them all away at Open House Week last week.
We are just about to run out of time, but I'm going to use Chair's prerogative to give you 2 extra minutes.
I appreciate that. So I just want to say, from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the purpose of the CPAC is really to sort of honor the fact that parents are a really important and strong voice for their kids within the school system, and particularly parents of kids with special needs. And so these were developed as a way not only to advise the school but also the school committee. And that's really specific in the language that part of the role of CPAC is to advise. That doesn't mean you guys have to take our advice, but it means that one of the big parts of our role is to provide you all information about what the state of special education is in the Greenfield schools. So last year we managed to pull off a couple of things, including a parent workshop on getting your child's IEP started, right? Like how to write a letter and request testing and do some of those things, and that felt like a big success for us. This year our plan is to do that, as well as partner with Community Action to provide a workshop that's separate from that. And we're also going to work with the schools and the PTOs this year to offer something in April around Autism Awareness Month. So those are kind of our three roles this year, or like our three activities this year we're going to do. But the other thing we're committed to is showing up here every month and giving you information about what we're up to. I also want to invite you, although I don't have the flyer, I can send out an email later with the flyer attached to our ongoing meetings. We meet monthly. It's 5 to 6:30, and Dave Messing is there and a part of the meeting for the first hour. And just like you guys, public meeting law, our agenda is posted on the Greenfield Public Schools website. You can go there to see the agenda. The last half an hour of the meeting is specifically for parent support. And so Dave leaves the meeting, and there are 4 parents who come consistently who are available to talk to other parents if they're needing resources, support. If they need someone to go to an IEP meeting with them, we're able to do that. If they need someone to go over their child's IEP, many of us have done that for each other. So just also an invitation for you all as school committee members, if you have parents coming up to you who are saying, I can't get the school to pay attention, I can't get the school to do this testing for my child, please send them our way. So we're both a resource for the school and have an advisory role for the school. So thanks for letting me introduce that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Doug?
I don't know. This chair, not that chair. So Doug Selwyn, Greenfield. I'm here to talk about 2 different things. First is, I know you're talking about composting tonight, or I think you are. And I just wanted to strongly encourage you to support that. I've been in several schools where composting is carried out, and it's a great learning tool. The kids learn how to do that way faster than the adults do, and carry it out with enthusiasm. And I know some of the concerns are about, will that attract critters of various kinds, and it certainly has not in the schools that I've been around. It's been managed well, and it's possible to manage well, so I encourage you to do that. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about, I want to invite you to an educational forum that we are holding October 22nd from 6:30 to 8 online, and it's focused on the schools we want for our kids. What do we want for our children? From by way of education. This is a response to, of course, last year, the ballot question eliminating the MCAS as a graduation requirement left, as far as the governor is concerned, a vacuum at the top, even though the standards are still in place. And she has a committee going around listening to the public, or at least presumably listening to the public, and they are coming up with another one-size-fits-all plan. And as a response to that, Citizens for Public Schools and others have gotten together and are holding forums across the state to really ask the public, what do you want for your kids? What do you want schools to offer your kids? What do you want them to take with them when they leave? And so we're holding conversations. Again, it's online from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, October 22nd. It's possible and encouraging, we're encouraging everybody in Western Massachusetts who can to sign up, because our voices are usually left out of these conversations, and we want to make sure that the public, the the DESE and the legislature and the governor hears from us. If you want to sign up, you can go to fccpr.us, and there is a sign up button on that page. Again, it's FCCPR, Franklin County Continuing the Political Revolution, fccpr.us. And we hope you will join us and add your voice to the conversation. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment in the room? Okay, let's see. Is there any public comment from folks online? If you can raise your digital hand or some other way, let me know. Not seeing any. All right. We will move on to report of student representatives to the committee. Kaylee Lewis. Kaylee, welcome. Thank you.
Hello. So the other representative wasn't feeling well, so I have this 3-page report to present by myself. Student Council. The Student Council has had an eventful month. Homecoming was a huge success. We had our first Spirit Week dress up, elected class officers for 8th and 9th grade, and helped at the Green River cleanup. October will bring Pink Out, Unity Day, and preparing for our lock-in and lip sync. Key Club. Key Club students joined together with Student Council and Sustainability Club to assist with the Green River cleanup on September 27th. 32 students worked hard to clean the bike path that runs along the Green River. We are looking forward to the gleaning at Bostrom's Farm in early October. Key Club will also be collecting donations using special trick-or-treat boxes that will go to Starting Strong Zambia. This project supports UNICEF's early childhood development work in Zambia, with a focus on providing sustainable, community-based support for children, families, and caretakers. Lastly, watch for Key Club at the trunk or treating hosted by the DSFC PTO. Athletics. Congratulations to our Brad's Place Student Athletes of the Week, Holly Babineau from girls soccer and Christina Kostov from field hockey. Congratulations. Athletics is off to a busy start. Check out a game. Go to arbiterlive.com for a full schedule of events. NHS members have started making plans for this year's activities, fundraisers, and events. We have started work on our Adopt a Family project, one of our most important activities of the year. Invitations were sent out to 28 juniors and seniors who have met the academic requirements to apply for membership in the National Honor Society for this school year. Most have begun the application process, and we look forward to expanding our membership at the induction ceremony on October 16th in the GHS auditorium. French Club. French Club held its first meeting in September to plan activities for the year, which include winter and spring coffee house in December and May, Taste of World Cultures in March, and many other social activities celebrating Francophone culture such as ratatouille, the food and the film. Crepes, galets de roi, I take French, I should know how to say this, and more. See the full list of planned activities here. There's a link in this, but I'm not sure how that would get to you guys. Additionally, we continue to fundraise and prepare for our trip to France in April. There is still time to sign up to join us on this incredible adventure. Contact Madame at annhar1@gpsk12.org for more information. Spanish Club. Spanish Club has started the year with 2 planning meetings that of course included dancing. We will meet next week for some Jeopardy-style Spanish trivia along with other fun activities. We have also planned our first cooking night and started plans for Dia de los Muertos celebration. On another note, plans continue for our trip to Spain in April. There is still time to register for this awesome experience. Reach out to Senora Cloutier for more information. Drama Club. Drama Club has assembled our cast and crew for our fall play, Nightfall with Edgar Allan Poe by Eric Coble, featuring dramatizations of The Raven, The Fall of the House of Usher, and The Telltale Heart. Student actors and technicians are hard at work memorizing lines and preparing technical equipment like sets, costumes, lights, and more. We're especially excited to present this play black box style with the audience seated on the stage to create a more intimate setting for these chilling tales. Performances will be November 14th at 7 p.m. and November 15th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. And tickets will be available for pre-sale in early November. Library Club. GHS Library Club will host the 6th Annual Comic-Con on Wednesday, October 29th from 3 to 6:15 p.m. The keynote will be Video Game Development, Past, Present, and Future by Paul Hake, founder of Hit Point Studios, a company that designed games for a number of clients, including Microsoft, Disney, Hasbro Toys, Nokia, and DreamWorks. We will have sessions led by students on ciphers, kawaii and J-fashion drawing, and character design, as well as other guest speakers. The Greenfield Public Library is a supporter and co-host of this event, and we welcome high school students from other area schools. If you would like more information, please contact GHS Librarian at gpsk12.org. Library. The library has a display for Latin Heritage Month, September 15th to October 15th, to celebrate the language, culture, and literature of Spanish speakers. We also have a display for Suicide Prevention Month, September, to coincide with the Sign of Suicide prevention program at GHS that GHS will participate in this week. The Reader of the Month is Aiden S. in 11th grade. Hello, GHS Library fans. We have a new Reader of the Month. It's Jaden. They formatted this weird. Aiden is the perfect October reader, and he loves fantasy fiction and is currently reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, and The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan. We asked the question, what is the worst book you've ever read? Aiden stated that he loves books, yet there is one or seven that have stood out due to his love for excitement and adventure. Harry Potter. Aiden first got into reading when Miss Anna read the Magic Treehouse series to him in middle school. I like books, he says. He especially enjoys reading at school or at home at night. Aiden enjoys his peaceful reading time and letting the books capture him and carry him into new worlds. Speaking of new worlds, Aiden has always wanted to read The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer and Set in Stone by Frank Morin. If he could recommend a book to anyone reading this, he would choose Harry Potter. Thanks, Aiden, and have a magical October, everybody. Digital wellness. To help families understand the complexities of artificial intelligence and how it impacts students and their learning, there is a resource for parents and caregivers from the Thrive Initiative. This resource shares a breakdown of an Oxford Institute for Ethics in AI article that looks at current research about AI and provides ideas for ways caregivers can take action. Navigating AI as a parent, how to support your child's digital well-being. You may also want to take a look at the videos and tips for families page of resources from Common Sense Media that give guidance on ways to help kids navigate the world of AI. How to talk to your child about AI and a guide to AI companions and relationships. Band has been off and running since August, and we have already accomplished so much. We performed 2 football games already, and we recently performed at the big parade in the Big E Jazz Band. I'm so sorry. Jazz Band has started as well, and it meets every Monday at 4:30. Our next performance will be at the next home football game, and we will be performing our halftime show and debuting some new music and drill. You won't want to miss it. Spectrum Club was thrilled to have returning member Spencer represent us at the GHS Activities Fair. We recruited some new members and gathered some information on the best day for everyone to meet. With that information, we decided that we will be meeting every Friday after school in Miss O'Leary's room. We may have an optional additional meeting on Tuesdays depending on interest. Come by next Friday, October 10th, for bracelet making and dream building. Trivia team, formerly known as School Match Wits. Thanks to team leader Zach Odarski, we recruited a half dozen new students at the activities fair. We are awaiting the date and team we will be competing against for As Schools Match Wits and should know soon. We are meeting 2 times a week in the fishbowl at the library. Students of Color Club. We are recruiting new students and have had a successful day at the GHS Activities Fair on September 26. Naomi Bledsoe, the club's mentor from Communities That Care, FRCOG, attended a recent meeting. The club is working on a mission statement and planning for a fall event with a food drive prior to the holidays. Guidance. We are busy with college presentations, a Sign of Suicides program that is done biannually, an annual all 8th grade intervention program called Preventure to address risky behaviors and build lifelong social, emotional skills, and all the various daily activities that keep our office hopping. We have an intern, Kendra Barlow, from UMass, and Miss Page is supervising. Glad to have her here. Nurse. Please return your dental program forms by October 3rd. This portable dentistry program will take place in the side room of the nurse's office on October 28th and 29th during the school day. And since it's that special time of the year, a reminder, per the National Association of School Nurses, students should stay home if they have a fever of 100.4. We have thrown up multiple times in the last 24 hours or have watery stool. Students without these symptoms should stay in school to promote learning. Crochet Club. Crochet Club is looking to build its membership, and this Friday, our usual meeting day is in room 2023. We will discuss expanding activities to include other crafts if identified resources are secured. Stay tuned. Artist of the Week. The Greenfield Garden Cinema will be recognizing an Artist of the Week. Teachers can nominate students for their creativity and contributions in music, digital photography, art clubs, ceramics, pottery, filmmaking, drama, set design, etc. The winner will receive 2 tickets to the cinema. The first 2 winners are Camden T. and Lila M. I can take any questions now.
Thank you. Any questions for Callie? I don't see any, but thank you so much. Appreciate you coming. Okay. Give me just a second. Reports of the administration. Andy?
Good evening, everyone. You have in your packets the budget update for FY26 as of the 5th of October. Just not much activity report on the operations side, just some technical things. If you go through the report, there are some negative encumbrances. They don't have an impact on the bottom line, but it's a part of the year-end close. The city's still closing the fiscal year. Once that's closed, we're assured that those things will be corrected. It doesn't live with it. Bottom line is not impacted regarding that. It's a money in, money out situation. The 2 other things that are important to highlight are in the memo. In this past month, since we last met, we have another special education placement to the tune that was not budgeted for, to the tune of $308,460.41. When you add that to the overage and special education tuitions from last month, that brings our total projected overage to $400,074.17. Mr. Messing is working to see as far as some of those changes could potentially result in some internal savings. He's diligently working on that. Regardless of that, I will say, one of the reasons we do what we do in our budgeting is that we actually have these funds available should we need to in our revolving accounts. So believe it or not, there is a method to our madness. This would be a case in point of that situation being that no need to go back as of right now for an appropriation from the city is what I'm saying. And then related to special education, they have released, and it's important to bring it up now so that we can remember when we start the 27 budget development, Operational Services Division, they set the rates for special education tuition placements. They have set the rates for FY27 to be 3.04% increase. But in light of what I brought up in item number 2, this does not mean that when we do our FY27 budget, that the FY27 special education placement tuition budget will be a flat 3.04% increase. We already have $400,000 added to the base of our budget. So just something to keep in mind as we're going to be starting our FY27 budget development in the next couple months. So I just wanted to share that as well. On the positive side, there are 2 things. The revolving account report, with the year being closed, we are not closed, I should say, we were unable to get the FY26 up-to-date amounts. Again, we're only in October, so there's not a lot of activity. But I do want to share that the special education preliminary circuit breaker numbers have been received. When we build these budgets, the Department of Ed advises us to budget at 70 to 72% of your claims from the prior year. We did that. That was $1 million. But with the preliminary amount that they released, we're anticipated to get, as of right now, $1,527,398. That will be what it is. We always use our tuition for circuit breaker in arrears, so that will be helpful for us as we do FY27 budgeting. With that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Andy? Mayor?
What was the increase last year? I forget.
Increase last year in what?
To the special ed tuition that the state, that was set?
The OSD rate?
Yes, yeah.
I'll, give me a second, I'll find
I
that.
just forgot. I can get it later, too. It's not earth-shattering. Thank you.
Yeah, they've already
It's fine,
eliminated the
doesn't matter.
26, yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks very much.
3.67.
Any other questions for Andy? Thank you, Andy. We'll move on to report of the Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent.
Good evening, everybody. In my report tonight, you have a grants update, some information on accountability results, some DESI policy updates, a couple that I've referenced prior, and a school choice update. So to lead off, we found out recently that we once again received a Massachusetts Cultural Council Creative Experiences grant for $5,000. This grant is specific to the fifth grade. It was initiated by a fifth grade teacher, Ms. Anna Marhefka, and this will allow a third party called Playful Engineers. They've come to our STEM nights previously, but they'll be able to, their quote unquote teaching artists will come in to guide students in exploring the concepts of force, motion, scale, and cause and effect through building chain reactions and creative contraptions. And this will lead to a family engagement night where families can come in and see the work of the fifth grade students over the course of a week, and those dates are yet to be determined. Last week, actually, accountability results released from DESI. So I'm planning to provide a more detailed review at our November meeting, but did want to share a couple of key highlights. Overall, the district met or exceeded 58% of its targets. DESI categorizes that as substantial progress towards targets. Federal Street performed particularly well, meeting or exceeding 83% of their targets. The middle school continues to show improvement. Just a few years ago, the middle school was in the 4th accountability percentile across the state, and after this year's results, they are in the 21st percentile. At the high school, they met their target for advanced coursework, which is part of the work we've been pushing to make sure advanced coursework is accessible to more students. At the same time, the data makes it clear that there's additional work to be done in a number of places, but Newton Elementary and Greenfield High School are designated as requiring assistance. So Federal Street had that label last year, and their performance has moved them out of that designation. And Newton had been in it previously, had worked themselves out and fell back into that category. And then I would say overall chronic absenteeism remains a concern district-wide. I will note that most of our schools exceeded their targets in chronic absenteeism, but our targets are set on previous years. So that means even if 20% of our students are considered chronically absent, if we met that target, that still means 20% of our students are chronically absent. So still work to be done, but on a positive trajectory in that note. And like I said, I will provide some more detailed information next month. In terms of DESI policy updates, I had previewed last month the competency determination. This was something we talked about last spring. At the time, we anticipate, DESE was pushing for an October 31st submission. They have extended that submission deadline to December 31st, which is helpful, but at the same time, at this point, they're still expecting the class of 2026 to adhere to these new regulations that we haven't even voted on at this point. So we've started the conversation. I have provided the draft policy so people can review that. And I've started working with the guidance counselors and the instructional leadership team and the admin team over at the Greenfield High School to plan for students that this could impact. And I've appreciated their feedback, and I'm working to incorporate that into our next iteration of this plan. And I anticipate November, I should have something to present, but I also, and Mr. Selwyn mentioned it earlier, I'm anticipating DESE's vision of a graduate to be coming out soon, which could also impact this work down the road. But these new guidelines got released mid-summer, and I think many districts have scrambled to gain a better understanding of what they mean and how we can make sure that we're getting into compliance with them, while also supporting our students with, unfortunately, it's a bit of a moving target, and students who were set to graduate, now we have some questions about, and we're having to think creatively about how we're supporting them to make sure that they remain on track for graduation. And I commend our high school team for the work they've done already around that, and we're working diligently to make sure that we provide that support students need. You do have in your packet tonight in the consent agenda a middle school pathway exploratory policy. This also came out late in the summer, and originally it was kind of buried among the CTE schools having to create a new admissions policy, but as a sending district to a school like Franklin County Tech, we needed to have a policy to make sure that our students have the opportunity without penalty to explore opportunities. So the policy in the consent agenda tonight will bring us into compliance with that. The challenge with this one is the CTE programs have their new admissions policy due on the same date this policy's due. So we had to draft this without knowing what their admission policies would say. So this also might be one that I come back with tweaks. But I have reached out to Franklin County Tech, and it seems like we're in alignment with other middle school programs in the area that they've been working with. And I just want to credit the GMS principal, Michelle Fenimore, for her work on this. It's been very helpful to have her input, and her and I and Mike Browning from the high school met last week to review it. And our attorney did review this and feels like it's in line with the guidelines DESE's provided. So like I said, some of this, I don't always like to say we're just doing this to get into compliance, but it does bring us into compliance, and then we can always revisit it. And then the school choice update, and you can certainly read through it, but want to make sure people are aware that we have 97 active homeschool files. Last year at this time, we had 103. Of the 97 active files, or I'm sorry, that's a misprint. There are 42 additional that are currently inactive or incomplete. That's a similar number to what we had this year. This is something I actually, just before I came here, signed approximately 42 letters to go back out to those families because they're missing something in their application packet or didn't provide information in regards to their homeschool. So we're reaching back out to get that information. And then this goes into a little bit about families who have re-enrolled, what grades they're in, and other students who have either aged out, graduated, left the district. And those numbers will shift a little bit based on the letters that we're sending out, because sometimes we get return mail that says this family's now living in X community, which then means we adjust because it's the resident district that has to approve the homeschool plan.
Thank you. Superintendent? And we'll do questions for both of you after.
Good evening, everyone. A few things I'd like to bring you up to date on. We're fortunate to have some nice tree plantings going on in our school. At the high school, led by one of the projects led by Judy Bennett, a teacher up there. They're looking to plant 4 to 5 trees, and some of them were dead, some of them are on the auditorium side, and a few others on the front entrance side, and they're working with the tree committee for that, so that's ongoing. And also, we were fortunate to receive a grant with the city, help from the city with the grant writer, Athena Lee Bradley, the Cool Quarters Grant for tree plantings. And they're gonna be planting trees right now along Beacon, Sanderson, and High Streets. And why that affects us is it's right at the backside of the middle school as well, too, that they'll be doing that. So they worked with Principal Fenimore on that. Volunteers from the Greenfield Tree Committee will be placing flag markers also at each tree location for that. And some of these will go on the back side of the ball field behind the middle school, and additional ones on the tree belt for that. Student enrollment, I think I may be missing that sheet in there, but just we'll put it into that folder for you. We were up 1 student since the last month, and that's that chart that you'll have, so I will make sure that's in there. I was looking for it and wasn't able to put my finger on it, but there are a lot of documents, as we've said, digitally, so I think it's in there. But we are up +1 since last month on that. Wanted to touch base about fire safety education. We're fortunate to have and work with our fire department. Captain Alex Cooley has been making the rounds, going to our elementary and middle schools, doing fire safety prevention. This is through the Student Awareness of Fire Education. It's the SAFE program. And it is a grant that Greenfield Fire Department has with the state, and they bring age-appropriate lessons to the classrooms for both public and schools. And they talk about calling 911, meeting places during emergencies, getting out and staying out, having and maintaining smoke detectors, matches and lighter safety, fire and health risks associated with smoking, and making home fire escape plans. I was fortunate to catch some of these programs that, as they're making their way around the school, they're doing a pretty good extensive day tomorrow. I know they're at Federal Street. I've seen them at AEL and the middle school. The firemen come in, they bring, generally it's 1 or 2 gentlemen, fire people who will come in at times and show the students what's going on, talk about their plans, and you can only imagine the great comments you get from elementary students and even younger students. Over at AEL, the principal, Taglia, was mentioning to me that one of the young students was worried about their dog and was letting the firemen know that their dog, Molly, is upstairs or something like that. And there are different plans that can happen, and I did catch a tail end of one of them, and I think, don't quote me, but I think there are things with apps, and people can do things online, and you can even tell how many people would be in a house potentially, right? How many live there, and how many animals or cats and dogs. So when firemen or firewomen respond to it, they would know what's going on. So a nice program that they're doing out there, because you can never be too safe in that sense. So thank you to Captain Alex Cooley for doing that with us. For our facilities department, just wanted to bring to your attention some nice savings that are happening. I mean, we talk about a lot of the things that happen, and right, we see a lot of our job is, and your job is money, right, and spending and appropriating money. But we do have a lot of talented individuals who work for us, right, all across the department in different ways. So this one here is just some highlights to our maintenance department, who have done many things in-house, as many things as they can, obviously, by fixing the Greenfield Middle High School boiler. A control system was offline. Sometimes you have to just dig and find a 3-amp fuse in the control circuit that's blown, replace the fuse, reset, voila, right? You're back in business on that one. We've had, believe it or not, we've actually had some cool mornings, right? It doesn't seem, and they're coming up. Frost warning for Friday morning was issued the other day, so we may be down to 28, I think, on Thursday night to Friday morning. But one day, the past week or so, AEL didn't have any heat. Both boilers had tripped gas valves. Maintenance department reset the valves, gets the system back online, right? Low pressure fault from the supplier feed on that one. The library rooftop unit at the high school faulted out at variable speeds, found some blown fuses, replaced those and reset. Small things such as at Newton Elementary School, the file office cabinet snaps off. They can't access it. They were able to buy a new lock, drill it out, replace it, back in business in that sense. So they're doing a lot of things. Walked in one day, Greenfield High School had no hot water in the school. Bad circulation pump, seized actuator on one of the domestic water boilers, swapped it back out, get it running with a new motor from EMCOR on the actuator, and they're gonna swap out the pump. So our maintenance department is working. They go into work every morning thinking they have a routine to do. Thinking, right, like many of us do when we go to jobs, that we're going to do certain things. And you get in, and the phone calls start, that there's no heat, there's no water, that there's nothing. So I just wanted to highlight the nice work that they do and congratulate them on keeping a lot of the things in-house. And Director Boudreau has talked to me and mentioned that he does appreciate, and I do want to mention this publicly, the back and forth work that we get from the city side as well too, from the craftsmen over there and the technicians, whether it's the plumbers, the electricians, all the other people who have various specialties, that he says that we really work together well, and he appreciates their work as well on that. So, and believe it or not, one last thing on that one, we just dropped off snow blowers last week to get them tuned up and ready to go, because yes, while we're dealing with 82-degree days the last 2 days, it's time to make sure these snow blowers are gonna run when it happens. So we have that going on right now. Some of our field trips, starting at the beginning of the year, we did hear some from our student report, but our band performed at the Big E, had a great time and did a nice showcase. Our Beacon students went to a fair at Greenfield Community College recently to get our students on a college campus. The band performed will be performing at the UMass Fine Arts Center on the 17th, the multi-band performance, and they'll also be doing the traditional band day at a UMass football game. You may remember that, where they gather thousands of students from across the state for that. And our GHS Advanced Euro students will be going to the Renaissance exhibit at the Mass Fine Arts Museum coming up. Also wanted to just put a nice plug in for, today was the first day for Unified Basketball. They had a game against Northampton, and this is where we have a full team of basketball players they're combined with special education students and regular general education students. And if all goes well with this, Unified Sports is staking over amongst the state and is being part of, under the Mass Principals Association, part of the MIA, though not directly, but under that arm. If all goes well, we hope to collaborate with the Special Olympics to bring unified track and field to Greenfield High School in the spring as well. And we will be working with, right now, the Special Education Department is working with Department of Developmental Services, Family Empowerment, and ServiceNet, and they will be holding a transition fair at GHS on November 5th. This is open to the public and will include a variety of vendors from Massachusetts to share information with stakeholders about what services and supports are out there and available to families. So we'll be having more information out about that. Those are just some of the good things that are going on in our schools.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent or assistant superintendent? Secretary Deneve?
I was wondering, Stephen, if you could tell us what the total amount of grants you received in the end for FY25 was, now that everything is completed and finished.
Yes, I can give you the number for, I knew you asked this question in August too, right? So I was prepared. The number of grants my office oversees was, in FY25, was $1,094,020. That does include competitive grants and entitlement grants. And FY26, currently, it is at $1,670,460, which does not include entitlement grants because those haven't been secured yet. So that would push that number to $2,503,552. but the increase for that is due in part to that opioid grant that I've mentioned before, is a $1.5 million grant. We're the primary, so that's distributed amongst 7 other partners as well.
My rationale for asking this question is because we hear so much about administration costs and the salaries for our administrators, and you're an administrator who's brought in, more than $2 million in grants. So I just want that on record for the public to understand that that's one of the things that our administrators do, and if they were not present, that would not occur. So I really appreciate you getting that amount together so that we can keep an eye on that, and thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.
Other questions? Mayor?
I had a question about the homeschool. So could you explain a little bit more about that? So does that mean there's not 97 children that people are schooling at home, or there's 97 plus 42? And how did they check in? I was just wondering a little bit more about how that worked. That was all.
Sure. So there are 97 active files plus the 42 that are inactive or incomplete. So students have to provide us with essentially a home education plan that details what content they're going to cover, how they're going to meet for elementary, the 990 hours, for high school, 900 hours of instruction over the course of the year. And they have to show in some way how the person or persons who would be leading that plan have the capacity to do so. So then those come through our office, we approve or ask for more information. I will say the laws protect the homeschool families quite a bit, and understandably so, because there's a number of reasons why families might homeschool. Some are due to athletics. We have students who are on competitive hockey teams that they're traveling all over the country, so they do a homeschool plan. And sometimes it's the actual parent or guardian providing it. Sometimes they're connected to an online homeschooling resource program, which the parent or family might be paying some tuition to be a part of. And then they dictate, and then they provide a report at the end of the year for us to essentially move them on to the next grade.
Please, yeah.
So in general, have the number, I guess this may be more for the superintendent, in general, have numbers gone up, like statewide, nationally, for people that are homeschooling here and in other places?
I can say for us, our numbers are similar this year to what they are, like give or take a handful, are similar to what we've had in the past. I don't know in terms of, I haven't seen a statewide homeschool report, now that you're asking that. I'm not sure how that gets reported.
I have seen some articles, not anything definitive, but some articles that say the trend is increasing for homeschooling, given a variety of reasons. The activities that he mentioned that students are in, also what parents are now doing with people working remote. A lot of people are working remote and traveling and not wanting to, let's say, stay tied to a city or a town and taking their children with them, whether they do different parts of America or different things where they're working as well too. And this day and age with things being digital, the access to curriculum is out there. Now, many of the families that I'm sure that Mr. Sullivan deals with will pay, and they will pay for curriculum from these different agencies that are out there, and some they can vet for free as well too. He mentioned that some will go to online schools and will take classes digitally by somebody else teaching them. Many of our parents are purchasing, I'll use the word purchase, and they are paying for a curriculum from an accredited agency in that sense, and trying to support their students at home with that.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you both so much for your report and your continued good work. If there's no objection from the committee, I'd like to move up item 9A, composting of food and paper waste discussion, to now. I'm not seeing any objections, so we have Amy Donovan from the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District here. If you'd come forward and turn on the microphone and can participate in the conversation with us. I guess maybe we'll start with the superintendent. Can you tee us up a little on this topic? And then Amy can be here as a resource for us as we discuss.
Yep. So in your packet today, I believe it's might be in the new business. Yep. If you go to the new business folder, there's a composting PDF that I did hand out last month as well, so it's the same. And it talks about how I and many others met in August with some people regarding composting. And then I gave you a cost program that it would cost if we were to implement it for a full year, starting at a full year, roughly about $20,000 in terms of costs. Some of those would be reoccurring, a few would be startup, like the barrels would be a startup cost. Bags would have to be purchased every year, compostable bags. You just can't throw them in plastic bags, and then obviously 6 dumpsters, 2 cubic yard dumpsters and 1 4 cubic for the high school. If we were just to do the high school, as we've potentially talked about, and people have thrown about that as an idea of getting started this year, if you were to do the high school, because there does seem to be support at the high school through some different student clubs and teacher-led support there. I did talk with our facilities director. The cost for a year at the high school would be about $4,000 to do that. Many of the other concerns that you've heard before are that it would be a little more work for custodians in and out, trash barrels, cleanup, separation. I know, yes, the students would dump it in, but somebody still has to haul it out and do that type of stuff. They are bringing out the same trash, obviously, but now it's just being separated. And as somebody mentioned earlier in the public speaking, the pests, right, at times, and having to do that, because I haven't been here when it's been done, but I've heard stories from the past when they were closer to buildings. Obviously, we'd have to keep that in mind where you were placing dumpsters, and there seemed to be some different mitigation strategies that I believe Member Sexton talked about that could be had to try to mitigate any things that are happening there.
Thank you. Maybe we'll see if we can get a motion about composting to use as our discussion. Secretary Deneve?
We actually made a motion in our community engagement subcommittee meeting because we met with Greening Greenfield. And so we were going to propose our motion today during the reports, but it seems like maybe it would go here.
Yeah, why don't you do the motion now?
Okay, hold on one second. Where did I put it is the question. Give me 1 second. Okay. We just sort of wrote this quickly, but we as a community engagement subcommittee recommend that the Greenfield School Committee direct the superintendent to research the cost and details of restarting the compost program at all the schools and working with Greening Greenfield to abide by our policies and restart the composting program.
Okay, and I think that's what the superintendent just presented.
Yeah.
Right, okay, great, excellent. So maybe I'd like to hear a motion now that we approve the pilot of a 1 year at the Greenfield High School, the composting program.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Good one. Great, so discussion. Amy, would you like to say anything at this time?
Stacy has.
Sure. I prepared a little background info. I don't know what you all have discussed in the past, so I don't know if it would be redundant or if I should give a little summary.
I think a brief summary would be good, and then people could ask if they want more detail.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. So the program started in 2016 with a Mass DEP grant that was $30,000 to begin with, and that mostly just paid the solid waste district. Because as you might know, Greenfield is not a member of the solid waste district. We're supported by our 21 member towns. We're not supported, the state doesn't support solid waste districts, the county doesn't either, but it's a great idea. So in 2016, we started these programs at all 6 Greenfield Public Schools, 7 with the Math and Science Academy. They did it also. It was a very successful program because commercial composting accepts all types of food waste, as well as paper, the paper lunch trays that are used at all of the smaller schools are currently going in the trash, and those cannot be recycled, but they can be composted. The 6 schools together, like toward the end of when Math and Science Academy closed, okay, the 6 schools that were doing it were composting 5 tons a month. And so it's a major program. It's not just like a little bucket in the corner where we put our apple cores. It's all types of food as well as paper. So 5 tons a month, 50 tons a year, only interrupted by the pandemic. Before the pandemic, 33 of 35 schools, public schools in the county, were diverting their food waste from the trash, 33 of 35. I've been working since we got back to get those restarted again. And most of them have. Some of these schools have been composting for 25 years. So I really want to make that point because I know there's a rodent problem at the transfer station right now, which has my full sympathy. But this is not generally a problem in schools at all. You're taking the waste that's there, and instead of putting it in a plastic trash bag in a trash dumpster, you're putting it in a compostable bag in a compost dumpster that's picked up once a week. So it's not the same as the transfer station where all the trash from the town is coming there. Up to 89% of a school lunch is compostable by weight. I had some great results weighing the compost, recycling, and trash at the end of the school, at the end of the lunches with students. That's a lot of fun. The school committee wrote and adopted a composting policy in 2016, which I've handed out here. Just a little bit about how I set it up. I do presentations, one school at a time. And then, so everyone in the school committee understands why we're doing this, why it's important, what happens to the materials, and how to sort your lunch waste. This is a big one for me, right? Remember, Principal Goodwin, make your trash pile in the corner of your tray, and I have all kinds of little taglines and things that I say to the kids. I do cafeteria announcements and monitoring. Greening Greenfield is going to pay the solid waste district for my time. The goal of these programs is to reduce trash and eventually reduce the trash pickups in the trash dumpsters or the capacity of that dumpster. So like, for example, at Four Corners, they went from, a certain size dumpster that was picked up every week to being able to put it on call, so the custodian would call it in when it was ready for pickup. So, they're getting 2 cubic yards out of the trash every week. It really adds up. The cost per school per month for the smaller dumpster for the smaller schools, for the dumpster, is $185 flat fee. So the cost just for the hauling is $11,500. Then plus the cost of the bags. Now the superintendent brought up the compost barrels, but we hope some of the barrels are still around, so we can hopefully find some of those and put them right back into service to save some money there. We do have monitors, at different schools. I won't get into that, but I do have, a new opportunity with potential, Key Club students helping monitor the cafeteria in the high school, led by Judy Bennett. And the Sustainability Club, led by Kyle Bostrom, is also interested in helping with that. With that being said, we don't really need a lot of monitors at the high school level and even at the smaller schools, younger kids, because kids understand this. They know what food and paper is, and because of the way that it's set up in a very certain way in the cafeteria, everyone has to go through the sorting line, and they can't, well, they could if they really wanted to, but most students are just going through that line, sorting their waste on an expert level. It's pretty amazing. Lastly, this program had a huge impact when it ran successfully for 4 years. The schools greatly reduced trash. We taught students about sustainability and personal responsibility, sorting your own waste. The composting lessons are included in the Massachusetts state curriculum, so we're supporting that with our actions. And lastly, I don't think Greenfield wants to be the only school district that's not doing it, so in the county. So Franklin County is a leader in composting statewide because of Martin's Farm, because of Franklin County Solid Waste District. And like I said, waste districts are not established across the state. It's a very special type of organization. So I hope that we can get this program started again and get on board with getting all this 5 tons of food waste and paper waste out of the trash each month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion or questions for Amy? Oh, Stacy, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. One is more of like an informational, is this a pathway? And then another one is more specific to the motion itself. So the general information is, could leftover building funds from the high school construction be used for this purpose if one of the intents of the high school was to be a green building? And so that's sort of I don't know if that's an allowable expense kind of a question. But then the other one is, as the motion was stated, it's like it said that we'll pilot this in the high school. Can we also say when we'll revisit the matter? Like, can we go ahead and plan the next time that we'll talk about this and decide to either continue at the high school or hopefully expand into the other buildings?
Why don't we get an answer to your first question first? I guess, yeah, what
Thank you.
about budgeting if we were to do this, and how would which account would it come out of, et cetera?
If you're whether or not the high school construction project monies could be, I'm gonna either defer to the mayor, to defer to bond council. I'm gonna incline to say probably not, because since it was borrowed funds, they need to be used for a like project, and I'm not sure if compostable dumpsters and other materials would fall under that purview. But as far as like the budgeting for it, most districts, when they do this, would be looking at it, since it's primarily from the cafeteria, would come out of the school lunch revolving account. And the school lunch revolving account here in Greenfield is healthy enough to take this on. And actually, you're allowed a certain amount to carry over in that revolving account. And then when you are over that threshold amount, the USDA, who oversees school food service programs, look for you to reinvest funds back into the program. So this would be an appropriate use of those funds. So it would come out of my recommendation would be for it to come out of the food service revolving account.
And does that mean that if we did a pilot period with one school and then it was successful, and as we anticipate based on Amy's report, that there would be funds also to do it with the rest of the schools, or do we just have the money for this one school?
The USDA allows you to have 3 months worth of your revenue to carry over in your food service revolving account. We are, I don't say significantly over that, but we are over that where should we want to expand it to the other schools, the food service revolving account could handle that.
Okay, so then it seems like the pilot would be mainly for operational practice and just kind of getting started. I guess would we want to, I guess if we wanted to say for the rest of this school year, the high school, and then look at the remaining schools, what time frame would the committee want to reconsider, like voting on expanding it to the other schools, superintendent? Oh, would you answer that question first, and then I'll go to Member Goodwin?
I think budgetary-wise, as we create the budget calendar, we'd have to get that in the budget at some point in the spring. And I know that we're waiting just for some final dates on things, obviously the city side budget, that type of scenario. But you've gone through the Greenfield budget. I can speak of budgets, and I don't want to use the word spring loosely. You know the exact months that things may play out here. So probably, I think you'd have to, by April at the latest, I would imagine, you'd have to have some type of idea.
Based on what Andy's saying, though, would we necessarily need to do any changes to the budget to accommodate this?
Technically, no, you wouldn't, since it's coming out of the revolving account, if that's a self-supporting program. So we wouldn't
Okay.
have to necessarily. Obviously, we would want to monitor should the food service revolving account start to get a little close to a comfort level that we're allowed to have. And if we would then potentially need to shift a funding source from the revolving account to the local budget. But as of right now, we're nowhere near that.
The other thing I know that our Director of Facilities, Mike Boudreau, just wanted me to mention too, I guess there was a nice article yesterday about Martin's Farm in the Recorder that talked about a lot of the things that they're doing. Obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on here. He had heard that there might be some potential for the farm being up for sale, things happening like that, and potential what that may or may not affect the cost on this. So this is the cost as of today, in the way life is running today.
Yeah, thank you for that. Member Sexton, we have a question or a comment from Member Goodwin. Should I go to that first, or do you want to try to resolve your issue in terms of getting an amendment to the motion before we move on to other parts of the discussion?
I'm not sure if it would have come as a formal amendment. I appreciate the discussion and clarification about the sort of budget, sort of where this is actually going to, how this would fit in our budget. Yeah, I feel free, like, go to Member Goodwin, and I feel like the other thing is fine.
Thank you. Member Goodwin?
I think one of the things, it hasn't been done in a long time, like everything else the pandemic interfered with. Custodians would need to be trained, and that's a big piece. I remember when we started it the first time, it took some time for the custodians to really understand what we were trying to do. So I know that Member Sexton actually mentioned that I think in a year, we were talking about negotiating with custodians. So starting with one set of custodians at the high school is a good way to start a pilot and see how that goes, and then engage in conversation as you go down the road. Because one of the things that will happen is if a custodian doesn't understand what they're doing, and our custodians change a lot, like a lot of our staff, there has to be some kind of training in place for people who are newly hired. Because that's when things went bad, is when doors are left open and critters come to visit.
Any other discussion?
May I address that comment?
Sure, please.
Great points. Yes, and so I provide training for the custodians. And when we did this before, I think I get my school districts mixed up because I work with all the schools in the county, but I think we did a meeting with everybody at the beginning or maybe that was a different schools district, but anyway, I meet with the custodians and I, get to know them and talk to them about their workflow and how best to do it. And the barrels are on wheels, so they can wheel out the barrels. And so I provide that training, and I also work with the cafeteria food service staff to make sure they understand the program and what we're doing. So, thank you.
Superintendent, what do you think would be a good time frame? Like once it, presuming it gets started in the high school, how long do you think it should be operational before it comes back to the committee to look at potential for expansion or just checking in about how it's going, evaluation?
I think a good 5 or 6 months, if you were to do that. And that would take us really towards late spring next year.
Okay, great. So we'll vote on this tonight, and then we'll bring it back for late spring. Okay, any other discussion? Let's see, we have one member by Zoom, so I think we have to do roll call votes. Secretary Deneve?
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right, thank you very much, Amy, and thanks everyone. Thanks Superintendent for your research and work on that. We're returning to our original order, which means we're at the consent agenda, item 5. Under the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes from September 10th, 2025, accept a proposal for a $30,000 scholarship request, approve a middle school career technical education and innovation career pathway, exploration policy, approve the updated bullying prevention and intervention plan, approve amended family handbooks, and accept an annual donation of dictionaries from the Greenfield Elks, number 1296, for all 3rd and 4th grade students in the Greenfield Elementary Schools. Does any member have any item they would like to I see Mel Goodwin has one you would like to remove from the consent agenda?
The handbooks, I would like that removed from the consent.
Okay. Any other items to Member Sexton?
Item D, the bullying prevention and intervention plan.
Okay. So we've got we're removing items D and E from the consent agenda. Any others? Yes, Mayor.
I saw one correction on the minutes. I don't know if that means it should.
We could handle that during discussion of the
Okay,
consent
that's
agenda. So we can do that. Okay. Any other items any member would like to remove from the consent agenda? Okay. So I'd like to hear a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item D, the bullying prevention intervention plan, and E, the family handbooks.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Mayor, do you have your item about the minutes?
Oh, I read, I forget what the name of the committee now is, but the re-envisioning the schools, it listed Member Sexton as not being there, and she was there.
Okay.
I sat next to Member Sexton.
Okay.
Member
Great,
Sexton was
thank
there.
you. We can get that updated. Any other comments on the consent agenda? Member Goodwin.
The handbooks, I just wanted to know what the changes were, that's all.
The handbooks will be considered separately. So we're on items A, B, C, and F of the consent agenda right now. Any items people would like to comment on that? Member Childs.
My only comment is a giant thank you to Dr. McDonald for that scholarship and to the Greenfield Elks Club for the dictionaries.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you so much for saying that. Any other discussion? Yes.
I'll just, to jump on that, yes, it's great that you have alumni who are willing to give back, and $30,000 is not a small chunk of change, so we appreciate that. And also a nice shout out to the Greenfield Elks, number 1296, for distributing to all our 3rd and 4th graders, which are 251 students. So that is a lot of dictionaries. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. All right. Member Deneve, can we have a vote on the consent agenda with the changes to the minutes as discussed?
Of course. Chair?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Stacy? Okay, great.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right. Moving on to item E, I'd like to hear a motion to approve the amended family handbooks. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion from Member Childs, a second from Member Martini. Discussion? Member Goodwin?
I've read these a lot because I was part of the original group who wrote them. So I'm just questioning what the changes are.
Of course. So we're undergoing an integrated monitoring review through DESE. And through last spring and summer, we completed a self-assessment. We've gotten some feedback with DESE before they come visit in December, and there's some opportunities for us to rectify things before they come with a corrective action. And for the handbooks, we updated the non-discrimination language to include pregnant and gender identity as protected categories. We included the most current bullying prevention and intervention plan and forms. I maybe should have done that one last. I'll come back to it. And we also included a reference to alternative remedies in the discipline section of each. Because before we can use exclusionary practices, we have to consider alternative remedies. These things have been in practice, but weren't in the handbooks. And when DESE reviewed them, they noticed that, so we made those adjustments. And maybe I won't be answering Member Sexton's upcoming question, but the bullying prevention intervention plan did not include the language around staff training or how the district reports that information. Again, it is things we were doing in practice, but it wasn't in the plan. So those pieces have been added to the plan.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on family handbooks? Okay, Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson-Masad?
Yes?
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And I skipped item D, so we'll go back to that. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the updated district bullying prevention and intervention plan as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion from Martini, second by Childs. Discussion?
Yeah, can I start?
Please. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, the reason that I wanted to remove this is because I did actually have some questions similarly to Member Goodwin of just what were some of the updates that were made that we were approving. But I also, as I was reading through it, I was wondering if we could get some more information about what are the remedies that are taken and what are the exact sort of like guidance given before it's referred to local law enforcement. So that's something that I would appreciate just some more information about. And that's the bulk of it that I was mostly curious to hear. And I think at some point eventually I would love to have a more comprehensive like report or presentation about what's happening around bullying and intervention strategies in the district.
So I think that's a fair question in terms of before it gets to law enforcement specifically. So I think that is something that has to be included in the policy per DESE. But I think we're very careful about when and where law enforcement gets involved, and it's never our first option. I think in cases where bullying has been identified, addressed, interventions have been made, there's been discipline, consequences, and it persists, I think at some point it rises to a level where law enforcement may need to be involved, but I'm not aware of any bullying allegations since I've been in Greenfield that have been referred to law enforcement. But I think that is a last resort, and any time that we're contacting law enforcement for something that has more to do with school discipline, I think we try to use our professional judgment. If a situation has gone beyond the capacity of the school, if there might need to be additional resources beyond what we could do. And that could look like a number of things, and I would hate to start listing things because I'm sure I would miss something or I might misrepresent something off the top of my head, but I can assure you a notice to law enforcement is a last resort.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
Member Goodwin?
Is the bullying information as well as the handbooks provided in all the languages that are spoken in our district by our families?
Yes, in the handbook, all the handbooks are translated, available.
And the plan as well?
Yeah, because the plan lives in the handbook, so yes.
Any other discussion? You'd be willing to make a fuller report about bullying at some future meeting?
I would if I had some specific questions and not necessarily asking anyone to think of them off the top of their head, but if it's just number of allegations or findings and things like that, certainly. But if it's something other than that, a little bit of guidance would be helpful, so I'm answering questions that you may have.
Okay. Member Sexton?
Glenn, I was just wondering if that's something that we could bring to a future school committee meeting to have the discussion to generate the questions we would want answered.
Yeah, certainly we can put that on the agenda and people can think about it between now and the next meeting if there's something you'd like to hear more about. The other option would be people can feel free to email me or the assistant superintendent and superintendent and share, whatever requests for information you have. Okay. Let's have a vote. Secretary Deneve?
Chair Johnson-Masad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Motion carries. Vice Chair Sexton, would you like to give the superintendent search update, or were you raising your hand for another reason?
Yes, and happy to do that. Can we actually bump to have our 5-minute break now so it doesn't interrupt the flow of the presentation and the voting we're about to do?
Certainly, yes. I see interest in that from the
Aye.
group. So,
Great. I also, just realized that my computer has not, in fact, been charging this whole time. So I'm going to see about that and what I
Okay.
can do.
great.
Cool.
My watch says it's 8:10, so please be back here as the clock's turning from 8:15 to 8:16.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Welcome back. Thanks, everybody. We're moving on to this superintendent search update. Vice Chair Sexton?
Great. Yes, thank you all, and please bear with me. I think that I'm in the middle of losing my voice, but we're gonna get through this. I also want to thank Judy Pellucci for being able to be on the call with us tonight from NESDEC, who's our superintendent search consultant and who I've been working really closely with to develop this plan that we're going to present to you today. Do I have the ability to screen share, or does Judy have the ability to screen share?
I should be able to give you both that ability. Just a sec.
That'd be great. That way we can have the slides up.
slides in your electronic packets as well.
Amazing, yes. They are in the packet.
Okay, I've made you both co-hosts, so hopefully you are able to share your screens.
Let's give it a go. This. Is everybody seeing slides?
We are now.
Amazing, brilliant. So this is to help keep us on track and make sure we don't forget any bits and bobs. This is a fairly, let's say it's got a lot of details that we have to make sure that we get through in order to move this process forward. So let's see, as we get started here, the first sort of order of business, picking up where we left off at the last meeting, is to really think about who the steering committee, so this is a small representative body from the school committee itself. This would be myself and then up to two additional persons who will work really closely with Judy to handle logistics, getting rooms set up for focus groups, like who we're going to advertise and how, and getting things out like in memos or newsletters or press releases. Like all of these sort of details are what the work of that 3-person body is going to be. The official spokesperson for this whole endeavor is going to be the chairperson. That person is the official spokesperson for all endeavors really related to the school committee. If at any point I feel like that could be like the person who's leading the search committee process, which I guess would be me in this case, I feel like could be a substitute if the chair would like to refer it back to the person who is actually leading that subcommittee. I think that's an option. And then I wanted to also review, you should have seen an update in your packet, review the open meeting law requirements that are around these kinds of meetings. So essentially, because it will be an official subcommittee and official proceedings of this body, it is a public meeting and we will need to post for it. That being said, to protect the privacy and integrity of the search process for the candidates, it will be happening under the auspices of executive session. So essentially we'll open the meeting, go into executive session, and then begin our agendas. And that way we're sort of satisfying our dual responsibilities to open meeting law and search integrity. So right at this moment, already we have one decision point. So for this steering committee, in the orientation packet, that'd be the longer, like 20 some odd page document. You may have seen that my proposal is to have 3 members on this small steering committee, myself, Member Childs, and Mayor DeSorger. My rationale here being is that we 3 are we are guaranteed folks to be on this committee next year, providing an important sense of continuity to the process as we go through an election cycle. Additionally, I think having Anne also being at least a little bit of a representative for the parents, or being able to at least put on that hat some of the time, is a benefit to us. And then having the resources of the mayor's office at our disposal, as well as input from the larger city side. I mean, I think that makes sense to me. And so that is our sort of first vote, if we would like to take the time to have it right now, is a motion to appoint members Childs and DeSorger to this 3-person steering body from the school committee.
If someone made that motion, would you both accept that appointment? Mayor? Yeah, okay. All right, well, why don't we have a motion, and we'll see how we do tonight, and if we need to put it off for some reason, we can, but certainly I could hear a motion to create a superintendent search steering committee composed of Stacy as chair and Member Childs and Mayor DeSorger.
So moved.
Motion from Member Goodwin and a second from Member Martini. Discussion? Vice Chair Sexton, would this steering committee, but is there also a hope to have some type of representation or at least advisory from other people in the school
Yes.
system? Can you talk about how that would work?
Absolutely. Let me be clear. I should have put together a graphic or something. So this small steering committee is just the representatives from this body that will be part of the larger search committee itself. So rather than bogging down members of the community who might not already know how to work the channels of communication that the three of us steering committee members will have, like we'll be the ones actually doing the nitty-gritty of reaching out for rooms, making sure that reservations are followed through. That way, the search committee can really focus on the work of reviewing applicants and ensuring that they meet the goals, priorities, aspirations, needs, challenges of our community. Does that outline make sense? Where the three of us are also part of the bigger committee that we're trying to put together, which we will discuss later on in this presentation. But for right now, I just wanted to get a vote on the composition of the three representatives from the school committee body to that larger process.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Secretary Deneve?
I'm just wondering when you plan to start this work.
Immediately.
Okay, thank you.
As in part of what was in the packet for this section of the agenda was the invite letter that we plan to start really broadcasting out to candidates. I mean, if we can vote on some of this stuff and get it together, we can already be pulling in resumes for folks. So it is technically, I would say it has started now. We're at that point where there's we're moving forward. So that being said, the actual timeline we will be talking about very shortly, so we can see what other committee members are thinking or feeling about that.
Any other discussion? Okay, Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Musad?
Abstain?
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor? All right, everyone's a yes except for one abstention.
Wonderful, motion carries. All right.
Sweet.
Vice
Thank
Chair,
you all.
continue.
All right, moving on. Okay, so here we are to the timeline. Does everyone see the timeline in their packet?
You do, it's on page 2.
Okay. I can see you a bit, Glenn, and a little bit of Member Deneve, but everyone else is off in the distance for me, so I can't really see
Yeah.
faces and whatnot.
I'll have
But
to give you clues about when people are looking to be recognized, but I think people know where the timeline is.
perfect, excellent, thank you. So essentially, the timeline as presented would start the work in a pretty quick-like fashion. As soon as we get some of those key things in place, like an interest letter, like figuring out what our salary range is, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, it operates in 2 phases, with a portion of the work happening prior to the Christmas-ish holiday break or the winter break in late December, early January, and then picking back up in January with the ultimate selection happening at our February meeting. So that's sort of the broad brushstrokes, where first round interviews would happen prior to the holidays. Candidates would be informed about whether or not we would like to move forward with them for second interviews. And then we would actually conduct those second interviews after the holiday break ends, and we all come back. For the needs assessment work, that would also start very quickly. I think the timeline for focus groups happening at the end of this month. And then training for the bigger screening committee about how to review applications, as well as sort of discussing the profile that emerges from the needs assessment work to make sure that that's actually informing how we're reviewing those. That would happen, I believe, in early December or late November, with the review of applications happening in the mid-December-ish time. So those are sort of broad brushstrokes. I was wondering, what were folks' initial thoughts, like reactions, initial thoughts, feelings? Or were there any specific dates that you noted was on a holiday we didn't notice or something like that?
Mayor?
First, thank you very much for working on all of this, Member Sexton. I appreciate all of your work on it thus far. And I had a thought about, there was an awful lot that was happening just around the holiday. And so I had wondered if pushing it back a month for a couple of reasons. One is because it's the holiday, and also we're going to have a newly elected board. And a lot of this has to do with relationships, and to give the new superintendent a chance to really be, working with the new committee. So for a couple of reasons, I was thinking that it might be pushed back just a month. And I did just a little bit of Googling, which is how I look at things, and I don't know that much about timelines. We can certainly discuss amongst ourselves, but if anybody else has more expertise on this than me, by all means.
Member Goodwin?
I think it's an unusual time for people to be looking for a new job with the holidays. There's sort of a rule of thumb with educators. We're usually looking March, April. So, and I know it's different for superintendents, but still the holidays, you're kind of like, everybody wants to get through the holidays before they're starting to think about things like jobs and stuff like that.
Other questions or comments? Vice Chair Sexton and Judy, would you respond to those comments?
I'd be glad to. So this timeline is pretty similar to others we've done when we've started in the fall. There is that holiday piece. However, on the superintendent level, people think well in advance about their next move. So it's definitely an earlier timeline than most other educators. The other thing too is you'll be competing with others that'll be looking for a superintendent. So, so the idea is that if you can engage people who are interested in the superintendency and choose a person before they're chosen by another district, you are in a good place. So this particular timeline does give individuals 6 or 7 weeks to put together an application. The interview before the holiday, it is a busy time of year, but pretty much, I mean, after the holidays, sometimes it's busy in districts as well. And then have the second interview afterwards. If you certainly can push it another month, you will be in more competition with other districts, I would think. I've seen some postings already go out, so you certainly wouldn't be the first district to have a posting out for a superintendent search for a job that begins in July.
Member Martini?
In terms of relationship building, I'm just noting that the interviews or direct interactions on this calendar layout here that occur prior to January are with the screening committee, which is made up of members who are midterm anyway, and there wouldn't be finalist interviews with the full school committee until after the start of the new year with the new committee fully on board. So I don't have a problem with this calendar as is.
Any
And
other comments or questions? I'll say, it's not just a timeline, it's also an overall outline of how you all are thinking about the work, and I find it very reassuring because it seems very well thought out, and I think has some improvements over our previous searches, so thank you very much for that hard work. I will also say, I noticed when we did our interim superintendent interviews, we were asking people to interview very last minute at very unusual times, like 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. And people seem to understand that if you're ambitious enough to seek a superintendency, it might mean that you're interviewing at an unusual time of year. So, great. All right, then let's see, do we have a motion yet to approve the timeline as presented?
I believe we are seeking such a motion.
So moved.
Motion from Member Goodwin,
Second.
second from Member Martini. I guess we've already had our discussion, but any other discussion? Okay, Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Can you tell me name?
Goodwin and Martini was the second.
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, Vice Chair Sexton, continue.
Thank you. You should see the screen about a needs assessment up there. This is the piece of work that NISDEC had proposed where they would conduct individual interviews with each of us current school committee members, an online survey for community input into the process with potentially a special focus on like parents and students, as well as 4 included focus groups that may, have representatives or be focused on the following groups, with the sort of first 5 being the most popular, and with additional options, or like I would consider those more specific outreach options if we could think of them as like buckets, and then a little bit more specificity about who that could be in our community. But the community, parents, teachers, and administrative team tend to be the most popular 4 focus groups, with students as like a very close 5th. Our task at this point is to figure out how many focus groups we want, ideally at least 4, if 4 are included in the fee we're already paying. So max out on that, as well as the format of Zoom or in person. And there is a mention of having a hybrid option, considering that all of our municipal meetings are done in a hybrid way to sort of match our offering there for these focus groups. So my recommendation, because I prioritize or prize so highly student input and community input, is actually to pay an additional $425 to have a 5th focus group so that we can get community, parents, educators, administrative team, and students, all of them. So that'd be my proposal. Or I would love to hear from other folks which of these sort of groups of, like bigger umbrella labels of groups of people would you all like to see prioritized for really intentionally gathering? What are we looking for in a leader? What is our, what are folks seeing as our priorities, our strengths, our opportunities, any of that sort of stuff?
I propose we start with a motion I'd like to hear a motion for Stacy's proposal for 5 focus groups: community, parents, teachers, administrative team, and students, and to pay the additional fee for the 5th group.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion from member Goodwin and a second from member Deneve. Discussion? Can you talk a little bit about what the community focus group is? That's a pretty broad category. Can you say more about what that would look like?
I could talk to you about how it has been in other districts. Often the community group is held in a community location like the senior center or town hall, and members of the community are invited. Oftentimes we will send out news releases and other means of engaging the community, and also send out perhaps some individual letters to select board members or city council members or groups that you really would love to see at that engagement session. And so in your packet, where it lists different choices for focus groups, I think we color coded them so that you could see kind of the groups that might be engaged as part of the community forum. Having it hybrid would probably bring in even more people than just having it in person. But that engagement usually lasts about an hour, and it gives the community the opportunity to talk about what they want to see in the new superintendent.
Yeah. And in terms of like specificity of outreach, I think that is one of the sort of first order tasks for these newly appointed steering committee. So congratulations, y'all. We already have homework. But I would view that as really any organization, any entity really in Greenfield that has a vested interest in the education of our students, which is any entity in Greenfield we have contact information for.
Yeah, I guess looking at that list, I would wonder if you would add educational advocates on that list. We're blessed in Greenfield to have a number of people who are just passionate about education and constantly bringing best practices and advocacy to the school committee, and I'd like to see them called out in that list. I don't know the exact descriptor, but maybe local educational advocates or something like that.
Would you see that as potentially being part of the larger umbrella of community? I could also see those folks being reached out to from the perspective of parents, because I would certainly think that our CPAC and our LPAC folks would be part of that outreach strategy.
I guess I've noticed that, and I guess a personal connection, and not being a parent myself, and yet caring deeply about education and knowing there are other members in that community that fit that profile and aren't parents. I don't see a need to add I think adding one additional group with the students that's going to increase our cost is enough, but just to include educational advocates on your list of, we have a real estate board here listed here, but we don't have those educational advocates. So that's just a recommendation. And it's actually not what we're especially voting on right now. I think we're just voting on the broad buckets, but I would just suggest that for a future revision of that list. Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Sure.
Suggestion noted.
All right, then let's vote. Secretary Deneve.
Okay, roll call again.
Yep.
Chair Johnson Musad.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Member Martini.
Yes.
Member Childs.
Yes.
Member Goodwin.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right.
Yeah.
Next, Vice Chair.
Okay, let's keep it moving. Okay, so here we are now at our informational letter. Quick show of hands, how many folks have been able to read it? How many folks would like a minute or so to rescan it and refresh?
All right, so the first question, well, why don't we just ask that second question? How many people would like a chance to read or reread the informational letter? We have 2 hands, 3 hands up, so I think we will take a few minutes to do that. And mine was one of them.
Great, thank you.
Gotta find it again. Now, wait a minute.
Which page number in particular are we looking at the
I
moment? All of
think
them?
it
or-
starts on page 15 or 16 in the packet. It depends on if you're. I see some folks have paper and some folks have devices.
Yeah,
But it'll start with like a flashy, we are seeking, a candidate for X, Y, and Z. And then it describes a little bit about us, a little bit about the role. It gives some fast facts about the district, as in like how many students we have, what our budget was for this current fiscal year, etc.
okay,
There's
yes, it
also
is,
a bit
pages
about
15 to
Greenfield as a
17, it looks
community.
like,
Okay, great,
15 to 17.
perfect.
Okay. Here, a motion to approve the document or letter on page 15 to 17 of our NESDEC packet.
So moved.
Motion from Secretary Deneve,
Seconded.
second from Member Childs. Any discussion?
I have 2 quick typos.
Great.
In the, both page 16 about Greenfield paragraph, last sentence, it looks like we're missing space between dining, comma, shopping. So just, we missed a space there. And then in the second to last paragraph, which is the last full paragraph, last sentence in it, Franklin County, I believe county should probably be capitalized. So just the nitty gritty.
Copy editor at work. Thank you, Member Childs. And certainly if people have other corrections of that nature, they can feel free to contact separately as well. Okay, any other discussion on the letter?
Can I
Yes.
potentially complicate this motion? I
Sure.
apologize. Included in this letter is a salary range. I might propose that we take that as a separate vote. If folks want to ask specific questions about that. But the overall structure, we can go ahead and approve for this letter, and just with the exception of the salary range figure amounts themselves. And then once we have that vote, then we'll put in whatever we decide. But I just want to make sure that that is given some intentional and special attention.
Okay, Secretary Deneve, do you accept as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Approve it with the exception of the salary for the position?
Yes.
And seconded, she's okay with that, so that motion is amended. Are there any other items that anyone wishes to remove from consideration from the letter? Okay. Secretary Denis, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Okay. Great. So are we on to the salary now, or
I think that that makes the most sense, just so that we can get that last, that detail for that letter. And then, as Judy was telling me, if we approve it tonight, we can start advertising tomorrow, which is great. And so what the salary range that is represented in there right now actually represents a contract prior to the one that we had with Superintendent Patnode. Honestly, that may have just been an editing error from me copy pasting, but I'll put it for you as a sacrificial proposal anyway, because we can always change it right now. I will say that if we were in the year 2 contract with former Superintendent Patnode, the base salary would be 173, which is at the high end of the range that is currently in the packet. And so I just want to say it's not totally out of line with what we would be paying for a superintendent already. I didn't take into consideration interim Superintendent Joyle's salary because it didn't feel like an apples to apples comparison, and I wanted to get as close to that as I could. And so I am open to hearing other ranges that people are interested in, and just, yeah, looking forward to some shared decision making on this particular item.
Superintendent and Andy, do either of you have counsel for us on this?
I don't think it would take, it's not too hard. There should be a little small study and a little homework done. In my opinion, I don't think tonight would be a night to set this range here. You do have a lot of openings in the Pioneer Valley this year that will be occurring. And while we know what the former superintendent salary was, if we go back one other superintendent, that range would be quite a bit higher on there in that sense. And you need to know the area, the market. So you have the Mass Association of School Committees out there who does salary surveys every year. A quick call can get you those who have put information in general areas of Western Mass, Franklin County, Hampshire County, all your general, I don't want to say competitors, but you know what I mean, like districts in that type of scenario. And I think I would suggest that you would want some concrete examples so you actually know what you're up against instead of, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but guessing what a salary might be. Because superintendents aren't going to, if they look at something, they're not guessing. They know what the salaries should be. I know what somebody in Gil Montague's making. I know what somebody in Mohawk's making. In about 3 minutes, we could all find it out. So probably not the best night to do that, just to do a little homework on what the competitors are.
Member Goodwin?
So it's been a while since I did this, but the word negotiable usually was used instead of a range. I mean, so when you applied, you knew that they were going to compete with the surrounding area. Is that not, I mean, I don't like being stuck in a range because we know we're competing with 3 or 4 other districts.
You do have that Mass Pay Act that's out there now where you have to put ranges
Okay.
in postings. And you also could, put a comma or parentheses commensurate with
Negotiable.
experience.
Okay.
That they do, negotiable. But you'd want to give a range, because if it was outside of somebody's range, they may not apply for that, if they knew that it wasn't even in the ballpark.
Mayor? Oh, you're turning your microphone off. I'll say, I think that we may want to have I don't want to slow this process down too much. At the same time, we do need to do our homework. So I think what I would propose is that we have a very brief special meeting, Zoom only, to let the team come to us with the proposal based on some data. Secretary?
I was just going to say something similar. This will be the 3rd superintendent contract that I've worked on, and I was on the group that did Karen Patnode's. So this range seems completely and utterly acceptable, but things do change and get adjusted according to experience and where they come from. So I agree with you that we should have a special meeting for this, and put commensurate with experience in our range, because they are going to want certain things, and we don't know where they're moving from or what the situation is.
Okay, that can be part of the proposal that we look at for our special meeting. Okay, is that acceptable to Judy and Vice Chair? Oh,
So
I've got the
just so
mayor,
that I-
sorry, the mayor has her hand up. Go ahead.
So, I'm going to ask a question of the superintendent. Does that seem like a good ballpark number, or do you think it should be higher? Because if it's going to be commensurate with experience, could we put a ballpark number in and then add that in parentheses?
Yeah, I have not, prior to tonight, done a study. I think that it's probably a little on the low end.
Okay, so,
In that sense, but it won't take much time. I'm telling you, it won't take much time to call MASS. I can touch base with Member Sexton tomorrow and call
Okay.
down and get you some figures to know what somebody in Frontier
Okay.
is making, what somebody in Irving and Gill and everybody's making. Then you'll know if you're in the game or not, you know?
Okay, great. All right, so Vice Chair and Judy, anything else you need from us on that discussion? Is that acceptable?
So just so that I can do a quick recap and make sure that I know what's about to happen. So the steering committee, the three musketeers of myself, Ginny, and Anne have been tasked now with getting some concrete, these other data about ranges that are happening in other searches going on near us, presenting that to you. Do we, have a sense of if we want that, special meeting to happen next week?
No, I think
2
that,
weeks?
I actually think that if you all, now that you're a body, you'd have to post, gather, put together proposal, then bring it to the school committee. I think that's going to slow you down too much. I think that this
Yeah.
is something we should delegate to the chair of the steering committee to work with the administration
Got it.
to come to a proposal for the full committee, just to expedite things.
I can do, and for like next week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would run it probably next week. Yeah, I mean, we need to post, so it'd probably be
Great.
late next week.
Perfect.
Okay.
We can have something together I imagine, pretty swiftly about that. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Does that work, Judy?
That will work for sure.
Okay, great, thank you. All righty, what's next?
What is next? So, advertisements, these are sort of what's included already as well as optional. This is essentially the decision point of, do we want additional advertising? As described to me, not really, but we have to say so.
What do you mean, you have to say, you have to
We have
offer
to-
us the option as a school committee to decide?
Exactly,
Okay,
correct.
but your recommendation, can you say why, I mean, I have no reason,
yes,
but tell me why you
because-
don't think.
Because with the fee we're already paying, we're getting everything that's under included, which is most of the online sphere of different networks and platforms and outreach strategies. The only thing that we would get if we paid more is being in print versions of things, which, as described to me, is just not where a lot of the candidates are learning about positions. And so it does not seem to me that that is worth the cost in the same way that a student focus group was worth the cost.
Okay, so you need it sounds like it would be good for us to make a motion to approve the list of advertisements that is listed under included, and that we are not selecting the optional at-cost options.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Member Childs and a second from Member Goodwin. Is that the motion that you needed from us, Vice Chair Sexton?
I believe so.
Okay, great. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Masad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin? Mayor?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, what's next?
Wunderbar. Okay, so this is where I might also have Judy step in and share some of her prior experience with how this has gone down in other searches before. But in general, this is where we're going to talk about the different roles of the big school committee, us all together, us seven. The role of like what Judy is actually supporting and helping us do. And then we'll get into the screening committee. And towards the end, the decision point is actually thinking about the broad brushstrokes makeup of the screening committee. This is not specific people at this point, but this is thinking about, oh, we might want 2 parents, or do we want 3 parents, or do we, and thinking about the types of people we want represented in the screening committee. Any questions about that before we actually say the spiels?
Any questions on that? Not seeing any. Go ahead.
Perfect. Judy, can I ask you to?
Sure. In your packet, there's some more detailed discussion of kind of the roles of the consultant versus the screening committee versus the school committee. But I'll try to make it brief. Ultimately, it's the school committee that chooses the next superintendent. And so the school committee's role in this gets much more intense at the second interview stage. And that ultimately is your responsibility. It's one of the major responsibilities of a school committee. The screening committee is the group that actually screens the applications that come in, decides who should get a first interview, interviews that group, and then decides who will they forward to the school committee as finalists for the second interview. The screening committee is made up of a wide range of people to get the input from different perspectives of the community. And often we recommend there to be, possibly 9 to 11 or so folks on the screening committee. It's sometimes hard to narrow it down to that few, but on the other hand, if you have a wider group, each individual of the screening committee doesn't have as big of a voice. So you want to kind of balance that idea that people who are putting in that much time to the interviews, you want them to have a voice. And if they're just a one member of 30 people, they have a much smaller voice than if they're 1 in 9 people or 10 or 11 people. So the number is important, but it's also important to make sure that you have, and every community is a little different, you have the right balance of people on that committee. And so that's why in your packet, there's some different ideas for who might be on the screening committee. And for tonight, we want to have you decide who are those roles. So you might say like 2 parents, 1 teacher, however you want to decide on the list, but not individual names. And so then we'll get to work on getting the word out to people on this opportunity and making sure that people understand what the time commitment is, and then eventually matching a name with each of those roles. That will then come back to you for you to officially appoint those people to that group. So that's the screening committee's role. So my role is really to facilitate this whole process. And because we've done this a good number of times, we have some good tools out there for soliciting people for these roles, for getting the news out. and for helping you through that process. And then now that you have a steering committee, the steering committee really helps me to steer the process and do the logistics. I don't have access, for example, to your email system to get the news out to all parents and so on. So that screening committee helps to get those steps done in the process. That's the roles. What we're hoping tonight is to have you decide on your screening committee, what roles will be on that committee. Who do you want to see on that committee in terms of roles? So that we can then get to work to solicit people for those, for that job.
Okay. Then
Great.
as a starting point, were we going to say something, Vice Chair?
I was going to launch into my spiel specifically about the screening committee, but if you have a question or a comment now, I'd happy to hear it.
Nope, go ahead.
Great. And so, in thinking about the screening committee and its makeup, I do, have a proposal. Keeping in mind that we're looking for a group size of about 9 to 11 people, and that 3 of those people will already be taken up by myself, Member Childs, and Member Disorder. And so that leaves us, with 6 to 8 additional people. And so my thoughts were having 3 parents, 1 for every elementary, middle, and high school, as well as 3 members of staff, someone to represent educators, represent administrators, and then also represent like support staff folks. And then here's where I would love some more support in thinking through is I would really love to have student representation here. And I know that that comes with a lot of difficulties and constraints of working around student schedules. And asking them to sort of speak for their people in sort of ways, and balancing wanting to have representation from the broader community as well that has a vested interest in education, but finding it hard to think about having only one person in that role and how could they possibly represent the community, And so I know that I am advocating for having the 3 of us who are already on the steering committee plus 3 parents and 3 members of the Greenfield Public Schools staff, as I described earlier. And then, yes, would love your support in thinking through who these other couple of folks might be.
I'd like to share. I really value students and their participation and involvement, but I do think both because of logistical challenges like you're discussing, but the idea of having one student and then all of these adults and thinking that they're going to go into that environment and it's going to work very well for them, I just think it isn't actually going to solicit the kind of feedback from students that we'd really want, and that we have the focus group. We have our student council representatives, so we could be seeking their input in other ways, but I would argue, I guess, against having a student on the committee, not because I don't believe in engagement, but because I think if you are going to engage, you need to do so in a way that's realistic in terms of allowing people to fully engage. And I just think one student on a group with 11 adults is not realistic in terms of getting the best out of them and them having a good experience of it. Member Childs?
I'll argue against that. I'll argue that we have some students at Greenfield High School who are already getting advocacy awards for their work. We have some very active, confident students, and we also will have some high school seniors who have already turned 18 by the time these meetings are happening. So I would say that for the right student, the kind of student that we want Greenfield to produce, they would be able to be an effective member of this committee.
Member Goodwin?
I totally believe in student involvement, but one of the things about the candidates that you need to understand is at this level, at the screening procedure, there may be people who want their information kept confidential. They don't want people to know they're looking for another job. At that level, it's really important, and I know some other districts that had some problems where information got out and it backfired on them. So I would just say, there's no reason why you couldn't look for somebody who is maybe a graduate of Greenfield High School, an alumni of Greenfield High School. That could also be a parent who's an alumni. I think it's with teenagers right now in social media, to protect your candidates is really important in this process. And I've sat on a committee with 40 people. I've sat on committees with 8 people. And even when you talk to adults, sometimes that gets violated. So I think it's harder for younger people.
Secretary Deneve?
I think based on the interactions that I've had with the students at the YELO conference, they are very civically minded at the high school, and I think that they'd be a great addition. But if there's privacy concerns, I don't see why they can't submit questions and submit thoughts about what they would like in terms of qualities in their new superintendent. So I think that they could be involved, and it doesn't have to be face-to-face.
So the focus group could inform the focus group with young people could inform interim superintendent, yes?
One thing to consider too is when the selection committee, whoever it's comprised of, does pick finalists that you would be interviewing with the new committee as well. I would anticipate you may have the finalists do site visits, or you may do site visits there, and then there's a great opportunity to put the candidates in front of students, like the student council or representative, while they visit. Probably, I would assume, possibly they may visit different schools during a day if they come for a half a day or a full day, and then you'll be able to gather some input that way as well.
Okay. Vice Chair Sexton, I want to move this towards where we have an actual motion, and it seems like we have on page 22 a suggested profile which lists the different roles, but your recommendation varies from that slightly. So wondering if we use this as a template, could you help us to revise that to reflect what you're recommending?
Yes. Do you mean in real time right now?
Yeah, because,
Or-
well, I'm assuming you want the vote on this tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, so in real time right now, yes.
Okay. Let me stop screen sharing for just a moment so that you don't have to watch me while I go pull up that other part of the packet.
Okay.
Apologies, friends. The tech isn't working with me.
Oh, that's okay. Another process could be I could read off of this list and you could just tell me yes, no, or maybe whether you want these people on the committee.
Perfect.
All right. A central office administrator,
Yes.
a principal, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, the proposal that I had called for 3 GPS staff, and I would love to see an administrative staff, an educational staff, and a support staff represented. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So you, in your proposal, you don't
But
have a
I'm
special.
seeing Sorry, I'm
There
seeing
are
other
hands, you're right, but I just want to get clear. So
Yes.
on this page 22, they talk about the importance of having a central office administrator as distinct from other principal, for example. So just wanted to make clear that your proposal would be the administrator could be from central office or a principal or a director of student services or something like that.
Correct. And I'll add that the central administrative office staff is like also it would be important mostly to have good relations to get stuff scheduled and whatnot. So yes, they'll have a broad perspective of the district, but I think also it's helpful in order to make sure that we can get rooms reserved and things like that. But they're not essential necessarily to have on the screening committee itself, as long as we do have good relations in order to accomplish the logistics smoothly.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Member Goodwin?
We have a lot of new principals, but there is somebody actually sitting here who has been at the middle school, at the high school, and central office, and he's also our interim superintendent, who I think meets multiple criteria. I've never been part of a committee that's put an interim on, but, he's been in 3 schools.
Okay, but we're talking about roles, not individuals at this point, but I hear what you're saying. Mayor, were you going to say something?
Yes, I think, I heard when you were talking about parents, I think we should also have a parent of a special needs student.
Okay, thank you. Member Martini?
Thank you, Mayor, for saying that, because I was noting that there is on this suggested list an elementary and a secondary parent, but there's not like a direct connection here to representing the interests of disabled students, nor English learners, and those are 2 of our highest needs groups in the district, and who have benefited the least from the improvement that the district has seen year over year for the last several years. So I appreciate that suggestion, and I would like to, I'd like to see a representative from CPAC and LPAC on this list. But just in the interest of time, perhaps we could just read this entire list and then take Vice Chair Sexton's suggestions on individual roles to remove or that are not being recommended here.
Okay, yeah, we could do that. The other thought that I had was whether we want to just have a general discussion now, share our feedback with Member Sexton, and add this to the agenda for the special meeting, because it just seems hard to sort out in this format. Mayor?
Could we also ask our superintendent if he has any suggestions as well for the makeup of this, because he has a lot of experience?
Please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would agree with Member Sexton and I believe Judy, who's on there, that a smaller committee is better. We want to include everybody, right? You want to include everybody. You may have to try to do multiple roles. It may be a parent who is a parent of a special education student in that sense, because if you just keep adding and adding, the committee will get unwieldy. I think you're going to have a hard time getting people together for the screening and for the interviews. I do think the week prior to Christmas is going to be specifically hard when you try to put 12 to 15 people in a room and say, you're here Monday to Thursday nights when everybody's doing last minute shopping, that type of scenario. So the bigger you get, it just gets tougher. And if you can combine roles in there, like we said, a parent and one of a special education student, and you may have to leave some roles out, whether it's a business member or a community member. At some point, you just can't have everybody in the room, but you can get input as to what they want in a superintendent. Obviously, you'll do that with the community forums, And then there'll be some opportunities during the public, I say finalist interviews, when you're doing some public interviews, to then hear feedback from community members as well. So it's tough. It's always tough to say no, that no, we don't want somebody on here, but I would concur with Judy that if it gets too big, it's just not going to work as efficiently.
Okay, so if there's no objection, let's just share any other feedback that you would like Vice Chair Sexton to be thinking about in terms of coming to us with a proposal with this very difficult thing to put forward. But any other comments or feedback on that? I guess the only other thing I would say on that is that since it does seem like in one group you won't have the representation of everyone that you wish would or could be there and have a meaningful role, then that just puts more emphasis on our need to be doing community engagement, getting people to these focus groups and having them involved in a meaningful way, even if they're not in the room where it happens, where they're determining which candidates get advanced. So, all right, what's next? Oh, do you want to share again?
Excellent question. Give me just a moment to get back where we were. Okay, so we've effectively postponed that agenda item to our next special meeting.
Can you share your screen again?
Yes, I can. All better?
Yep, thank you.
Perfect. So all of this to be made more clear at a future date.
Okay.
Lastly but not least, we discussed having a district webpage for the superintendent search. This will essentially act as like a repository of all the things. This is where we will be posting the info letter once that's finalized. We'll be posting the timeline here so that candidates know what to expect. We'll be posting the candidate profile here. We'll be advertising for all of the focus groups on that page. It'll be your sort of one-stop shop for what's going on, what's happened as far as the superintendent search goes. So I wanted to make sure that folks had all of that. Judy, is there anything we're forgetting, or is this?
No, I think you all did an excellent job. I know sometimes you might think you put off a couple decisions for next week, but those are good decisions to think about and to do it right. So I think you're in a great place right now. Even making those decisions next week, we still have a good amount of time for candidates to put in their applications in time for December 1st. So it adheres to the timeline. I think you're in a good place.
Great. Thank you so much. And so just as a recap, we'll be revisiting the screening committee as well as the pay rate and range.
Exactly. And thank you both so much. An enormous amount of work, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you all. A lot of it was Judy. Really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure to work with you. Everything was done on time. It's going very well. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you
Wonderful.
both.
Okay. Let's see. We're moving on to school committee reports. Chair's report. I have an inclusion of draft subcommittee minutes in meeting packets. Secretary Denis asked if we could have that as part of our practice to include those, and the superintendent agreed that that wouldn't be an undue burden. So just going forward, we'll include those draft subcommittee minutes in the meeting packets for the full school committee, so people can stay up to date on what's going on. Superintendent?
Yes, so you do have those in your packet. In there also, they'll be in two spots, so you'll get them here, each meeting for new minutes that are not even approved yet, they're draft, but they're also on your webpage, on the webpage for the school committee, under the meetings, even in draft form, they're there as well too. and then when they get approved, then they just change to accepted. So they're in two spots for you.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Budget and finance report.
Budget and Finance did meet recently, and we addressed three primary things: the plan for stakeholder outreach in regards to FY27 budget development, as well as amending our annual budget document for FY27, and we discussed capital improvement. So the subcommittee previously launched an effort to conduct in-person outreach to collect stakeholder input in regards to budget development last year, and intends to do the same this year, except that last year we did proactively go out and send a representative to our PTOs as well as the GHS School Council, as GHS does not have a PTO, and I myself attended to CPAC and LPAC in order to obtain input from them, and that went well, and it was a good experience. But we do recognize that these organizations have busy schedules, and we certainly don't want to be in imposition. So our suggestion this year is that we will send out a friendly message and make a subcommittee member available to each of those organizations, as well as any other school councils that are currently in order and having an upcoming meeting, and otherwise warmly invite them to share their input by email or any other way that they would like to if they don't have time for us. I would like to move that the school committee approve the Budget and Finance Subcommittee's outreach plan for FY27 budget development as stated.
Is there a second?
We second if we're on the committee?
I'll second it. I second it. Any discussion? Vice Chair Sexton?
I was just wondering if we could pre-note for next year around this time when we're doing our next postmortem of the budget process, if we could compare and contrast how it went from like going to one of their meetings and taking up a little bit of their time versus sending letters and asking for feedback, just in terms of like volume and quality, and our feeling that the budget we come up with is overall representative of what our community's priorities are. So just want to make sure we revisit it if possible.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, Secretary Deneve? Martini, and then I seconded. No problem.
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. The next item that I said we discussed was the improvement of our annual budget document. The subcommittee has discussed potential rubrics for use in improving that document to make it more informative and easy to use. And the focus of that has been primarily discussing the Association of School Business Officials Meritorious Budget Award rubric because it provides a nice organized list of items by which a school committee could improve their annual budget and make it very friendly, as I said. And we've also looked at the documents that are or have been provided by other districts, including those who have achieved said award, and districts that have budget documents with things that appeal to the members. So after that discussion, the committee recognized a few things. One, that we don't necessarily need to decide that we are seeking that award in order to use a rubric like that. It's published, it's public, it's on online, anyone's welcome to look at it. And also that other school districts that have achieved it have done so via a multi-year project. It's quite extensive, requires a great deal of footwork, definitely not something that you would do overnight, and also something that's somewhat challenging to do in a situation where you have an interim superintendent, the school committee is seeking a staff business manager but doesn't have one yet. And so what we settled on was seeking to create the executive summary portion, which would be the most informative portion of a budget book. And we will be coming back at our next meeting with members bringing their specific items that they might like to see in it, and the general idea of what that would entail would include things like visuals, user-friendly graphics, concise narratives to help distill information for people so that everyone can have information coming to them in ways that works for them. There's no vote required about that because we don't yet have something to bring to you. That's just a general update on where we are on that front. And lastly, the superintendent did provide for us some information in regards to capital improvement that is needed. However, there wasn't enough information available at the time of our meeting for the subcommittee to make a formal recommendation to the school committee as a whole. So I will just let the interim superintendent go ahead and share what information is now available with everyone.
Thank you, Member Martini. I have in front of you, I've talked with our facilities supervisor who has gathered requests from various buildings and superintendent, principals, et cetera. In that sense, and you have in front of you some capital requests and the earmark funding requests. I think maybe it's not necessarily that request should be in that title, it's earmark funding. Some of the things that here, I'll read you them in order for the public out there. The Greenfield Middle School fire panel upgrade. That is, I believe it may be out to bid. That's a question mark for me, but I know it's being in the works through our business department and City Hall as well. And that could be, if it's an upgrade, about $150,000. If it's not upgradable and has to be replaced, it could be more. There has been funding already put aside by the city for that. So we're appreciative of that to the tune of $300,000 right now. The GHS High School Lighting Control System updates, that's 8 years old right now. It is the same company that you may or may not have remember that did Minnechaug High School. In that sense, and those lights were on for 4 years. Our lights are not on for 4 years in that sense, but we need to get to it before something like that happens. And a lighting control system update would be roughly $50,000 right now. Director Boudreau tells me there are over 100 faults to the software system in terms of things like that, so that have to happen. So yes, the lights are still going on and off right now, but we do need work after 8 years for that. He's suggesting replacing a vehicle, which would be a Ford truck with a plow, to replace a Ford Focus car. Right now we have 2 trucks, a 2016 and a 2022. One of those has a small plow, almost like a home type of plow. I say for a residential, maybe that's a better word, residential. In that scenario, this would put another plow on because there is a director and then 2 maintenance workers who do city plowing, school department plowing as well. We do have that would replace the Ford Focus car, which is basically dead. It is sitting in the parking lot right now in that scenario. Floor carpet replacement at the Greenfield Middle School Library and also at Federal Street School. If you walk into the middle school right now, it looks like the ocean a little, like some ripples and some waves or a lake on a windy day in that sense. And that needs an upgrade, and there's also carpeting. It could even be more and more, but this is probably the start of the work. You'll find a lot of places replacing carpeting, taking it out with, whether you want to call it vinyl flooring, that type of scenario, allergies, cleaning up messes, water damage, et cetera, right, in that sense. So that could be the tune of $30,000. Federal Street School parking lot paving. Think this was approved, not approved, let me take that back, not approved, but money was approved by the city in the past, $75,000, which is sitting there, so thank you to the city for that. Believe the cost, Mr. Boudreau believes, would be somewhere around the $200,000 at this point right now for repaving there. So we do have 75 sitting, but would need additional funds on that. There is at Greenfield Middle School in the back of the building, if you're looking at where the kids go out for lunch, there is an awning roof replacement by the gym doors. That request was for $30,000 in the past. This is a carryover. We do have, so that is an earmark that we just did receive, $25,000. So that it literally just came in recently. The business department and Mr. Sullivan are actually helping with that through the GEMS, processing it through the state system there. So we do have $25,000 for that overhang. And the Greenfield Middle School, 4 energy recovery units. We were fortunate to have $195,000 already committed by the city for that, but that's an expensive project. That could be upwards to almost $500,000, $490,000. They are running right now. They're running, but they're on limited time span. Mr. Boudreau believes you could possibly do 2. Those are some things to talk about, and obviously, as you get into the nitty-gritty of things, as the budget process goes down the road and the capital projects with the city, we can bring him in as well. AEL could use some exterior painting to the tune possibly of $30,000. Summer painting was a hit this year. He was able to hire 1 person inside and do a lot of painting. If he could do 2 next summer, thinks we could get a lot done internally as well. More painting for the schools. There is the Greenfield High School track maintenance and a painting there. That track is 8 years old. They generally go 10 to 12 years old in that sense, but it's starting to show some wear and tear. Not unusable at all, but resurfacing similar to where you would want to paint a house before it gets deplorable in that sense, and you can't catch up on that. And exterior painting at AEL. And you'll see that those tail off in terms of priority as well, too. We understand that there's only limited funds everywhere as well, too. And I do not have prices. He did not have prices on that, and these are two issues that I know that you've been dealing with in the past, and I'm just getting caught up to speed. On at Discovery, those OCR issues with the nurse's door, or bathroom access, and a ramp on that. And I know that that's been, I think, hashed through quite a bit in the past from what I hear. So total request, and I'm not telling you that we're wed to all these requests right now, but this is spitballing and getting things in front of you so that you can see it. It would be about 1.2 almost million, but we do have about 600 in some pockets of money in that sense, so those would be up for future discussion at future meetings. Or questions now,
Questions on the capital requests? Vice Chair?
Was that in the business manager's report materials, or was that a separate set of materials, and is it available digitally?
Ooh, that's a good question. I did hand it out tonight, and I will go and see if I have something from
I do not recall seeing that or
if I have
anything
something
named.
from Ms. Tower, I'll shoot it to you. Yes, I'll look.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Member Martini?
There was a question when Budget and Finance was discussing it as to whether the construction funds left over from the high school may potentially be used for the lighting control system upgrades. That seems like something that's perchance a more likely eligible expense. And I think we had a similar question to that in regards to a capital item last year. So it would be great if we could. Can we get some more specific information about what the requirements are? I think that might need to come from the mayor's office.
Yes, I think that I can definitely look into that, but I think Andy might know as well. We said there is money that's left over from the high school building project. And I think it would be an acceptable use on the lighting, but I'm not sure. I think there's maybe $130,000 left in there. There was that lighting. There's also Vets Field that needed lighting. And the track, any one of those, I think would be an acceptable use. Do you have any thoughts on that, Andy?
When it comes to the borrowing of funds, I'm a strict interpretation
Okay.
reader of things, and I would just recommend that we consult with bond counsel because
Okay.
my whole normal rule of thumb is always, it's like for like. If you've
Yep.
borrowed money for, say, air conditioning, I'm just saying, then you can only use it for an equivalent project somewhere else for air conditioning. So if indeed, the funding of the high school covered anything that would be related to lighting, then potentially yes, but I would be concerned about outdoor lighting versus, anything that would potentially be related to indoor lighting, hence their
Right.
contacting of bond counsel. I would hate to say yes and then have them come back and tell us no. And
May I just say one thing while I have the microphone in front of
Sure,
me?
yes.
A couple of things on the capital. There are enormous capital requests every year, so we'll just prioritize these as we'll be asking all of us, including the superintendent who's ever looking at it, to see which things are the neediest. And, we have, I think there's probably about $1 million left in capital stabilization. And I do want to tell everybody that how that is funded is from turnbacks. It's from the budget from the years before. Whatever is not used in anyone's budget goes back into, when we close up, which we're not closed yet, but when you close the budget up, it's surplus, and then we put it into capital stabilization, and that's how we fund all of the capital projects. So I just wanted to be clear. And also, this is a good news for those of us that are on all of these committees. We will not be doing the capital review of the projects until January. It won't be done in December. So that's good, because it sounds like there's going to be a lot of other meetings in December.
I was
Superintendent?
just going to add, yes, Mayor, we'll be a team player, there's no doubt about it. And we put these here just as foreshadowing in that sense, and we understand that some may be pushed back. And Mr. Boudreau is also working on a 5-year plan as well, so some of those can get pushed out to 28, 29, et cetera.
Member Martini, then Member Childs.
I already spoke, so Member Childs can go first.
Member Childs?
Quick question. AEL exterior painting is listed twice. Is that an error, or are there two separate paint jobs?
Typo.
That's
That's a
what I
typo.
thought. Wanted to make
Thank
sure.
you.
And then, what if I just snapped a quick picture of this to text to Vice Chair Sexton so that they could see it?
Certainly,
Great,
yeah,
thank you
that'd
for
be
that.
great.
I'll do
Good
that.
thought.
Watch your phone.
Member Martini?
I just had two other comments. One, I just wanted to say thank you to Member Geneve for the work that you did to make earmark funding a thing for Greenfield Public Schools. In the past, it was something that was never sought, and therefore we didn't benefit from. And I realize it's not always the most reliable thing in the world, but it's really important that we make use of all potential resources. So I just wanted to highlight that work and say thank you. And also, I wanted to just elevate the fact that this ADA complaint for the improvements that are necessary at Four Corners is 15 years old at this point. So I appreciate the interim superintendent's wording that we have been working on it, but it feels more like the district has been sitting on it, and I would really like this to be prioritized. It's not right to have an inaccessible building like that for students with disabilities. And I would really like to see that be addressed, and soon.
Secretary?
Oh, I wanted to say that when we had the Summer Eats program and we had McGovern visit us, Vice Chair Sexton and I were present, and we spoke with a representative from McGovern's office, and we sort of laid it out as, please give us how to request earmarks for dummies. Like, give us the how we do this with you, how do we make the relationship, and what forms do we do, and what do we do? So they're prepared for us to start an exploratory thing. So perhaps the ADA compliant issue, or one of these, would be one that we could sort of dip our toe in the water with how we do the legwork to do it. So I did send you an email on that, just to not extend the meeting, but that's something that I'd love to talk to you about, because they're waiting for us to attempt this.
Perfect.
Any other discussion, questions? Mayor?
I just want to say something about the ADA part. I'm not sure about this, but I think the parking lot also at the school was an ADA issue. But I was on Disability Access Commission for 12 years, and we still have non-compliance issues in many of the school and many of the city buildings. They were rated, they were rated in degrees of accessibility, and we have gone after the most severe ones. Every single one of them would be great if they were fixed, but there are things that should be done at Sanderson Street, there are things that should be done at City Hall, et cetera, and every year we can do what we can do. And if I'm not mistaken, before that, getting those elevators fixed was much more of a priority, and I do believe that parking lot, there was an actual complaint about the parking lot, whereas I think, and I could be wrong about that, but I think that the Four Corners School was something that the team that came out found, as opposed to an actual complaint from an individual. But that's how I recall. So just point of information.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? I'll get on my soapbox for a second. A comment I've made, similar to other comments I've made in the past, just a reminder to all of us that we live in the richest country in the world, and there are so many resources, and it just reflects our lack of will as a general population to force change. We could have a massive nationwide endeavor to make every school, every parking lot, every city building accessible, and it would create great jobs, and you could include climate change-oriented aspects in that work, but we haven't demonstrated the collective will to force those resources that we earn and that somehow end up getting siphoned towards the very rich instead of towards worthy projects like this, and then we end up kind of like feeling like all our projects are in competition with each other, which is not great. So just there's some structural issues here, and thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Do we need to vote on anything related to this tonight?
Well, I think that the normal calendar has capital requests being submitted by the superintendent to the mayor's office by the end of October, and so typically the committee would approve that slate of requests now, but we've just heard that that is being delayed by a month, so perhaps we can do that next month.
Absolutely.
Thank you for whatever rabbits you pulled out of your hat to get that extended, Mayor. I appreciate that, because it's a more rational timeline, I think. Okay, so we will take that up next month. Anything else on this before we move on? Okay. Our next item is review of year-long agenda. has anyone noticed anything on the year-long agenda that we aren't attending to that needs to be attended to? Okay, not hearing any. We'll move on to the next item. School committee, city council relations. In your packet, you have motions that were made just this morning at the executive subcommittee meeting. We were asked to make recommendations around school committee and city council relations, and so we have those for you, and if I can find them, I will. I know I had that here. Here we go. All right, so we have a recommendation for you for each of the items on this old business item 8B. The October City Council meeting, are we sending someone, and what are we asking them to do? The executive committee would like to hear a motion that the full school committee assign a member to present an update on the superintendent search process to the city council at their October meeting and to respond to any related questions on behalf of the committee.
So moved.
A motion from Member Childs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Martini. Discussion? I'll just say that we had a good discussion, and we, obviously needed to look at short-term in terms of next week's city council meeting. We need to submit items for that agenda on Friday. I'd like to make it clear that this motion is very specific in terms of sending a member. We are not recommending sending the superintendent, and the topic of discussion would be the superintendent search process. It wouldn't be an open call for questions from the city council or whatever. It will be focused on the superintendent search process. So any discussion?
Maybe, I'm just reading this aloud.
Sure. Member Goodwin?
Is this in line with the charter? Did you look at?
The charter doesn't say anything about us presenting at city council meetings whatsoever. And it certainly does not say in any way that the school committee in any way reports to the city council, or that, they certainly have subpoena power. They could require us to attend. Other than that, it's by invitation from them, and they have put into their own kind of city council procedures that they have reserved a spot for us on their agenda, but that does not require us to attend at all. It's up to us what we want to do. Just like we could vote to add as a standing item on our agenda that the city council president presents and reports to us every month at our full committee meetings, but we wouldn't have any authority to compel her to do so. The only authority they have for compelling participation is subpoena power. Any other discussion? The only thing that would be good would be maybe we could amend the motion to include who we wanted to send. Member Childs?
I think that sending Vice Chair Sexton makes the most sense, since Vice Chair Sexton is the liaison who has been putting all of this together and therefore is the most knowledgeable. So I would amend it to replace the member with Vice Chair Sexton.
Would you accept that if requested? Yes. Okay. And Martini, you seconded, so it's okay with you? Okay. All right, so we are voting on assigning Vice Chair Sexton to present an update on the superintendent search process to the City Council at their October meeting and to respond to any related questions on behalf of the committee. Secretary, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Masad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor? Unanimous?
All right, great, thank you. Next is looking at medium and long-range goals. So we would, the executive committee would like to hear a motion that the full school committee invite the city council president, along with any guests they wish to bring, to attend an upcoming executive subcommittee meeting to discuss strengthening the relationship between the school committee and city council, and to explore shared expectations for collaboration and communication at city council meetings. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion from Secretary Deneve,
Second.
second from Member Martini. Discussion? I saw Member Goodwin and then Mayor DeSorger.
I would just say
Sorry, I said I saw Member Goodwin and
sorry.
then Mayor DeSorger. Go ahead, Member Goodwin.
Sorry.
So inviting to, I guess, I'm sorry, I didn't have it in front of me, so you're saying inviting not to the full school committee, but just to the executive subcommittee.
Yep, so that would be me, Secretary Deneve, and Vice Chair
I'm asking
Sexton.
why that and not the full school committee?
I think we thought that a smaller meeting would be more productive, in some ways, having less, just having a smaller meeting, people could have a more collaborative discussion, and certainly anything that we did, we would bring back to the full committee for a vote, but it would give us a chance to have a conversation and come forward to you with a proposal. Mayor?
I think it's probably a very good idea, but I'm just reading that tonight on something that was, you talked about today, and I think the fairness of anything, you know, I usually read all of my stuff. I actually asked Andy, he sent me something that I spend a lot of time reading my stuff and thinking about it a little ahead of time, probably like the rest of you. And so I'm looking at this and I'm trying to read it, and you meet, you do a good job, all of you on the executive committee meeting, but it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm looking at something and trying to figure out what you're talking about. So I am not, I'd move to
I'd hear a
table.
motion from you, Mayor, to postpone the,
Yeah, I
postpone the
think that's
motion
fair.
to the October meeting.
Please.
I mean, no, we're in October now, November.
Yes, I'm going to move to table
Okay.
that, so I can just think about it
Is
for a
there
little bit.
a
'cause-
second on the motion to postpone?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Do we have to have a friendly amendment, because we didn't
No, we,
solve the
we,
original one?
no, we're postponing the motion to the November meeting, so we don't have to vote on it. We
Okay,
can continue our discussion then.
Okay, thank you. Who made this, who was the second?
I'm moving to table.
Mayor DeSorger, it's to postpone
Postpone,
technically.
excuse
I've been reading up on my Robert's rules a little bit.
Perfect.
Still not an
Thank
expert,
you. Thank
but,
you, Chair.
And so is a motion by Mayor and second by Goodwin. Okay, Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Uh-huh, Chair,
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so unanimous to postpone to November.
Excellent. Great. Okay, we're moving up to item 9B, review and analysis of the current regular and special education transportation operations and discussion of consultant work. Is that you, Superintendent? Or Andy?
Yeah,
I would just like to clarify that it's not regular ed, it's just special education transportation.
Okay,
do we have a typo in there, Andy?
It says regular ed and special ed, it's just special education.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so then I'll jump in, and I know that we talked about this last month. So you had the packet last month, you still have the packet here, and that was, we'd heard in the past about, I think this happened years ago, obviously before some of our time here, where the city took over special education transportation in terms of vans, which we call 7D drivers, and then some small buses, small and medium range, medium-sized buses that require a CDL for that. And there's a question on, did it fulfill its duty? Is it profitable? Maybe that's not even the word profitable. Is it cheaper than bidding out that type of scenario? So I know that you've had information in the past presented to you, and from what I've heard, Maybe people still question that, so if you're questioning it, we didn't put it together, but we contacted, Andy has contacts out there, and this gentleman in the company who could do this, study. You've seen everything that would be done, and it was presented last month, and you voted to postpone to this month. So there's nothing new, I don't believe, from our side, Andy, to present, but we obviously would answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Secretary?
Did the seeking of the study come from the administration?
I would say yes, the former superintendent, based on feedback and the seemingly constant discussion regarding special education transportation and the questions that had come up from presentations made to the city council, discussions about the overall transportation, the whole concept of owning our vans, et cetera. And then I provided information regarding, and admittedly, my analysis was cost basis only, and comparing the cost of special education transportation and regular education transportation, honestly, of Greenfield with the DART communities, other districts that DESI compares us to, and I did the geographically contiguous communities as well. That was presented, didn't seem to, change the concerns regarding special education transportation. So I knew of, and as does Superintendent Joyle, know of the individual Rich Labrie from this company who does this for a living. And so I reached out to him, asking him about coming in to do the oversimplified review that we were asking him to do is compare self-operating special education transportation and our current SPED transportation services to contracting out and do that. That's the comparison, the comparative analysis that we were asking him to do. Look at current operations and our current configuration versus what it would look like if we were to contract out. And where I did strictly, admittedly, financial, what data reported to the Department of Ed and going on to school districts' budgets, he would actually go route by route, and start to map out and do some comparative analysis of what is out there for the special education providers and what it is that we are currently paying our own for those own routes, and see if it, who knows what that analysis would entail. So that's the genesis of that.
I appreciate it. And when you say who knows what that analysis would entail, are you able to give us an idea from your own professional opinion if spending $10,000 on a study like this would yield us a savings of considerably more than that?
It goes to the question of, it's going to cost, SPED transportation is going to cost us money one way or the other. And the thing about it is there are so many variables involved in this. When we're talking down to the level of some students on a van would require a monitor. Some students on a van require being harnessed. They require being in car seats, et cetera, and stuff. So there's that level of detail where, to look at where it is, some students can't ride with other students and so on and so forth. And so the $10,000, in my opinion, if it's going to, will it 100% put to rest the concerns about the fact that X number of years ago it was agreed that we would buy vans and run our own transportation operations? I've said it before, I'm very surprised at the amount of revenue that this generates. I am surprised by that. I will say, when you look back at when Mr. Nemberkow, he was the one that, with the former transportation director, put forward this proposal. We didn't meet what it is that they said that we are going to do. What they put together as far as their plan for the proposal of what, I'm not saying that they said it would be 100% self-supporting, but I'm saying that what it is that they put forward was not, we didn't hit those targets, but we're getting there. So if this $10,000 is going to put to rest the fact that when you look at the options that are out there for special education transportation, what our current configuration is a viable option, then I would say that's money well spent.
So I think we're looking for a motion to approve the consultant work on the special education transportation operations. Is that right? I'd like to hear a motion to that. Motion from
Second.
Mayor, second from Member Goodwin. Discussion? Okay, Secretary, Mayor?
So, in that, and I know, in that, will it be looking also at some of, will it factor in like the cost of the actual buses and insurance costs? Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Vice Chair?
I just want to be really clear. I know I heard Andy verbally say that even though in our agenda and in the proposal materials, it says both regular and specialized transportation, that the $9,995 figure that is specifically just for our special education transportation, and that will be stricken from whatever contracts are actually signed where it says anything other than that. And by the by, how much extra would it cost if it was our full transportation program?
That's correct. It is just special education transportation, and I've had discussions subsequent after the last month's meeting with Mr. Labrie, and he agrees that regular ed was, he does boilerplate analysis work regarding that. So he will take out the regular ed. And as far as the regular transportation goes, I'm going to say that the due diligence is done by the Franklin County District as a whole, because we join all the Franklin County school districts to go out collectively for that sole purpose of getting more bang for your buck by having all the districts join under one collective bid.
Great. Thank you.
Member Goodwin?
Okay, so that takes big buses out of the picture. So the staffing for all of the special ed transportation would be part of the analysis as well. And that would include their health insurance, everything that,
Yes.
okay, great.
Any other discussion? Secretary Denis, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Masad,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton,
Yes.
I will abstain. Member Martini,
No.
Member Childs,
Can you come back to me? 'Cause I'm,
yes.
like,
Yes. Member Goodwin,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Member Childs,
Well, I'll just go ahead and abstain because the yes.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
passes.
Passes with 4 yeses and 3 abstains.
One no.
1 no and 2 abstains. Okay, thank you. Moving on to school committee self-evaluation review and discussion. What are next steps? Does anyone have any next steps to propose from our self-evaluation? Not seeing any. We can move on to the next item, strategic plan review. Any questions or comments related to the strategic plan? Okay. Let's see, discuss capital requests. We did that.
We did.
Procedures for adherence to open meeting law. I guess I'd like to just discuss why I put this on the agenda tonight, but then I'm going to suggest that we postpone further discussion and any votes to next month. But I'm going to try as much as possible to frame this in terms of the future. How would the school committee like to address if in the future school committee members, I can try to point it towards me. How would the school committee in the future like to address if a school committee member sends an email to a quorum or more of the school committee? You know, we all have been to open meeting law training. Many of us at this point are very experienced public officials. There have been reminders sent out over the email, so that's talking about the past. But in the future, how would you, it seems to me there's some of the options that we have available to us are not great. It's not wonderful to file an open meeting law complaint on a fellow committee member, essentially reporting your own committee. At the same time, by its nature, email, the public doesn't know what's happening over email, so they wouldn't know whether an open meeting law violation was taking place. There are, I think, two things we want to address. One is to try to deter violations of open meeting law by email. Also, we want the public to, in my mind, we want the public to be informed about what, if any errors are made, what is being discussed by email. So that's why I put this on the agenda. I wonder if between now and next month, if the committee can think about those issues, and if we can have a discussion about how we might direct the policy committee to work on creating something to address those kinds of questions. I'm open to any discussion people want to have about it now, or we can postpone to November. Any discussion now? Secretary?
I have been present during an open meeting law complaint. I don't know if you were there. I think you were there. And this was an open meeting law complaint about the mayor, past mayor, and it was about email. And I thought that we came together really well as a committee, and we made the decision for ourselves to engage in professional development about open meeting law. And then that was not supported by our chair at the time, and it never occurred. So we never did the work that we voted to do, which I thought was kind of sad, because I think that it would have really helped all of us. And I know that when people come on the committee, I also have to, like, everybody has messed it up at least once, and then they get a nice email from someone saying, don't mess it up, and then you learn. So I think that when you first come on and you make this mistake, now we have the handbook to follow, that's acceptable and understood, but it's repeated violations after you've been told that I would like to discuss in November. And so thank you for putting that on the agenda, and I will do my very best to think of solutions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the topic to think about now? Member Childs?
So this is really weird, and it feels sort of rules lawyery, but I just can't get it out of my head. It's sort of like how we're all members of the committee, but also members of the public. So what would happen, we don't have to answer this now, this could just be me being silly. What would happen if one of us were to use our personal email and send the email to the full committee email as a member of community or parent? I'm pretty sure that'd be an open meeting violation, but I don't know. It's just, I think there are some, and then also, when we have people like the mayor, who is a mayor and is a member of the school committee, does it count as separate hats?
So I think those are basic questions about open meeting law, and there certainly are resources available to us to answer that. We could certainly, at the Attorney General's office is more than happy to come and do a training specifically for us. My experience with the training, one time we did have an open meeting law placed against us. We agreed to have them come and do a training for us. They presented the information, but there was no real opportunity for, there was an opportunity for people to ask questions. Basically, they made their presentation and no one said anything or asked anything because because something about the format was not conducive to that. So anyway, just a thought. Member Martini?
My recollection is pretty spot on with Member Deneves. Our former mayor made comments very publicly in the newspaper about the discussions held in an executive session prior to those minutes being published. And it's true that members, and that resulted in the committee making an open meeting law complaint about itself, which I agree is preferable. If we have a violation, particularly something that's repeated, I think it's much better if it comes from us than coming from someone else. The committee should have responsibility for that. And it's true that we do get this online training and it's required of people and what have you. However, it's also true that there are often particularities that are not really covered in that training that leave people wondering. And also, we all know how online trainings are super fascinating and lend themselves to people remembering details, especially over long periods of time. In resolution of that previous complaint, the committee did send its proposal on back to the state that it would engage in training for the members, and then the now former chair of the school committee never did end up arranging it. So the committee didn't do what it said it was going to do in resolution of that complaint. I think it would be really nice to have something like maybe a working session that was specifically devoted to that, perhaps in that type of context, in a small group, in a circular setting like that. People would feel more comfortable asking their kind of nitty-gritty questions about, well, what if this and what if that? And at least the committee would be fulfilling what I think is its obligation.
Okay. Any other discussion tonight? Okay, so we'll carry this item forward to next month, and perhaps I'll come forward with a proposal of what we maybe suggest that we do, and get that to you in advance so people have a chance to think about it, and we can have a discussion in November. All right, item 10 is executive session, but we don't actually need that. Thank goodness. So I would hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to say that was a motion from Member Goodwin and a second from Mayor DeSorger. Is there any discussion? Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, motion from Mayor, second from Member Goodwin. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yep.
I'm a yes. Member Martini?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Mayor? Unanimous.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging in there. Long night. Appreciate your work.
Good night, folks.